y'all doing? I got a phone call. We are back in the spot as we are. I'm kind of become fond of that little song, that little Journey song, um, on Twitter. But anyway, we got a different Happy New Year, by the way. Best wishes to you. I woke up today very optimistic, and believe it or not, as pessimistic as I kind of sounded a couple of hours ago. Nikki and Wani know what I'm talking about. I'm actually very hopeful for this year. So we're gonna take this a different direction, and for the new year, I'm gonna bring y'all new scholarship. One thing y'all don't know about me. Let's. This is my confession, right? Like Usher. Well, what y'all don't know is I served as professor of education at uh, I'm gonna say it, Lemoyne College in Memphis, Tennessee. Um, Usually don't say that, but hell, it's New Year. This is age of truth. We're in the age of Aquarius. Real cute little college, historical black college in Memphis, Tennessee. And I, did a lot of research. I was an administrator as well on a COVID-19 research grant initiated by Congressman Steve Cohen of Memphis. Beautiful career. But the reason why I brought that up is as a professor, I would travel the world looking for rare books. So I have rare books on rare scholarship. And since we're talking about slavery, I mean, really, the issue of slavery, I'm gonna hit y'all with a book y'all never heard of, never seen, nor will you ever see. I could sell this book tomorrow for about maybe 10 grand. Never gonna sell it. But this is the book we're gonna read out of today. Not immediately, but in time. It's a book called Anti-Slavery. Never heard of before. I'm putting it in the Jumbotron. Yeah. Bam. So we're gonna look at some rare scholarship at some point in this program. Good for y'all. Well, in addition to that, keep in mind that I still have about 110 copies of my book left. So if you want a copy of my book, go to my Cash App is Our Story Publications. Put $25 in it and put your full mailing address. I'm sending books out tomorrow, which is why I brought that up early. All right. Now, question: are a lot of foreigners born on January 1st? Our brother Tariq Nasheed has brought out to the point that a lot of Africans have the same birth date, January 1st. So does that mean they're just women are popping out babies on the same day? Is it a miracle? That's what we're going to address today. And also, since we're talking about Africans being born on February 1st, we're going to flip the script a bit and talk about FBAs and say, do we have slave names? Is Alon a slave name? Is Alan a slave name? A little history behind my name. My daddy is from Virginia. My grandmother was from West Virginia, also known as Virginia. But grandma moved to right outside of Jamestown, where the 1619 project happened, before she had dad. And my father in Virginia, not Virginia, in Virginia, there's a tradition where you name the first child your mother's maiden name, and the child takes your first name. So my name is hyphenated. It was supposed to be hyphenated. It's supposed to be Alan, Alan E. That was my first name supposed to be. But my mother is not from Virginia. She's not prim and proper Virginia. She's from the hood, from Birmingham. And a little argument broke out in the where where the babies were born. My mom wanted me to be named Alon. So either calling me Alan or Alon is fine. I grew up with people calling me Alan. The only people that call me Alon is my aunties and my mom. But I like the way Alon sounds better than Alan. But Alan is my grandmother's maiden name. So just looking at names, since we're dealing with names, is Alan a slave name? Is that it? She was Maxine Allen. So it was Alan a slave name? We're gonna get all up in that. Um, Without further ado, Wani, are a lot of foreigners born on January 1st? A lot of Africans?
Yes, they are.
Tell
Um,
us why.
a lot of them don't have any records, and a lot of them had to adopt the Gregorian calendar. And so they just picked January 1st. They say it's because of their inaccurate missing records. And they view it as like a fresh start, and they have to adapt to the global way of having birthdays and recording records. And it's the same thing with some of their last names. Most of the West Africans did not have last names, and they were forced to, for record keeping, when they were colonized, they were forced to have last names. So their last names are maybe a village name or something. So they're not in any more power position on last names than Black Americans.
Great point. All these beautiful names that we love and get made us ashamed are really not. It's not a long lineage. That name doesn't necessarily connect to a long lineage because, like I told y'all earlier in a space the other day, I spent a good bit of time in West Africa, and what I learned in West Africa is more colonized than the United States of America. Let me say that shit one more time. They got colonized harder and swifter than we did. They don't know what their history is over there. Matter of fact, Nigeria. Nigeria was named by a white woman. So when Nigerians come in here acting all tough, remind them that Nigeria was named by an English white woman. Um, so it's a big finesse on I know my culture better than Black Americans. Keep that in mind. Um, like Wani said, and that gets me a little hot thinking of that fresh start. Let's go ahead and go back to Dr. Claude Anderson. Um, Black Labor, White Wealth, page 102, class. If y'all follow me along, Dr. Anderson says, as a matter of fact, ethnic and racial immigrants historically have been a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternative to interacting with blacks. So that if the world is a big chess game, foreigners are a piece on the white side of the chessboard. So let's keep in mind and remember that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said in the game of chess, the white piece moves first. The white piece plays offense, defense, and the black piece, us, moves second. We play defense, offense. So the white piece moves. White piece will slap the shit out you, throw a rock that'll bust you in your head, then hide her hand and say, I've never seen a rock in my life. Offense, defense. Our position is to get smacked in the face with a rock and then react or protect ourselves against getting hit in the face with a rock and then return the move. Well, with that being said, the reason why I brought that up is the white side of the chessboard uses immigrants like a piece to keep us away from getting things. Remember this. Keep this in your head, beautiful Black Americans. The white part of the chessboard, the white side of the chessboard, uses immigrants like a pawn to give them something. Give them a tangible. That's a move. That's an offensive move in order to not give us a tangible. So what do you mean, Professor A? What I mean is the white side of the chessboard will give me $1 million to a Ghanaian family, right? And scholarships or whatever. And then when we say, hey, where all the money went, where all the scholarship money went, they say, oh, we already gave it to somebody who another black family. When they're not black, they're African. And that's what Dr. Claude Anderson says when he says giving whites an alternative to interacting. What's an interaction? There's such things as financial interaction, right? So you give the financial interaction to the Ghanaian or the Nigerian family, mark it down as you giving your money to the blacks for the year, and we get nothing. So they just were used like a chess piece. Now they're aware of this. They are aware of this finesse, and that plays into the name. Like Wani said, they use the name as a fresh start. When these people come over here, in a lot of cases, they're allowed to have, or maybe 100% of the cases, actually, they're allowed to have a new credit, like a whole brand new line of credit, whole brand new credit score. My wife and I bought a house. I chuckle when I say that. Don't worry why. Uh, bought a house in Atlanta, right? Yeah, I kind of like chuckle just a little bit. Right outside Atlanta, right outside Fulton County. It is in Atlanta proper, and in a neighborhood that's very, very fancy. Mansions and stuff like that. We worked our ass off to even have the opportunity to do that. Well, the reason why I bring that up is not to brag. The reason I bring that up is what I've noticed walking around the neighborhood. Um, the other gargantuan houses are full of foreigners, um, full of people from the diaspora. It's a good portion of foreigners. A lot of white people, but the black people there are foreigners. I noticed that because when they pass by, I wave. You know, you kind of wave in the South. And a lot of them weren't waving. And what the fuck they ain't waving me for? And then I started noticing hairlines, and I thought about what Tariq said. Uh-oh. Then I started looking at flags. I'm serious. I waved, and they wouldn't wave back and shit. And I was like, what the fuck? That's not Southern black. We wave. And I started looking at the hairlines. I was like, oh shit. And anyway, I start looking a little bit further and start seeing flags all over the place. Then I did a deeper dive and said, "What the fuck? Where are these people at? When do these people go to work? Because I'm at work all the time, and my one of three jobs. Um, and my wife works all the time. And it dawned on me that a lot of them have cars, company cars out front. So and so's plumbing corporate, or so and so's this, so and so's that LLC. I was like, these are private business owners, and I can only speculate that these foreigners got a goddamn business loan for a corporation they filed, and were granted that corporation granted that small business loan from the bank for two reasons. Number one, first and foremost, they didn't have a credit history. They had clear and clean line of credit, which Black Americans we don't have because all our black ass go to school. All the student loans. Don't let me get started with student loan. But that's number one. And number two, like Dr. Claude Anderson said and Wani insinuated, they're being used as a wedge. What did he say again? He said uh, immigrants have historically been used as a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternative. So the bank gives that $1 million business loan to a fucking foreigner and never see them doing their business. I never see it. But that's beside the point. Where when we could have got that business loan, they got it because the bank is required to give a certain amount of money to minorities. Let's fuck around with that buzzword, and they give it to them instead of us. That's happened across the board. How many times it's happened to me? But I'm not going to trauma dump on you with that. So Wani, you're saying that they choosing to be born on January 1st is a finesse. Is that what I hear you saying?
They definitely get a fresh start. They don't have any records, and they are following this new calendar. And like I said, it seems like West Africans don't have a foundation like other groups of immigrants that come here. Take Chinese people, for instance. They have a lot of literature going back from the beginning. They have a foundation of education. They have a way of doing things. They have different spiritual systems. Um, and it just seems like West Africans are fractured. They don't know how to, that their names are not um, like other people's names that come here. They don't have the birthdays like other people come from other calendars, but they still have birthdays. So I'm not sure why they don't have birthdays like that because I was told that they had rites of passage. They celebrated birthdays, they celebrated marriage, but it appears that they really are not celebrating these things or recording anything. And that's why we've had to create a backstory for them. We've had to make up these little statements. Oh, it takes a village to raise a child, and all these types of things to give them a story. They don't have, when you peel back the layers, they don't have a cuisine. They don't have anything written. Like this was our food before the colonists came. They don't have anything like this was our education before the colonists came. Chinese people had an education the whole time. If colonists came, they would still have an education. They would still have some line of thought from Chinese people, but it appears that Africans don't. They just let people Arabize them, they let people Christianize them, and every time they grasp onto something and say, "Oh, this is cool," it's Arabized. Timbuktu. They don't have that foundation that they need. And this makes them have low self esteem and it makes them, lash out at us and tell us that we don't have the roots. We grew a whole new tree. That's the whole thing about us. We had to come over here and grow a whole new tree. So they're not the roots of us because they don't have any roots. And other people can't say that. So a Chinese person over here, certainly they do have roots in China. China is still there. It's a big country, it has a long lineage. But what we see in West Africa is quite a fractured site. Not true for East Africa. East Africa should have more um, history going back. They should have more of a foundation. They should have more of what they want their people to know foundationally. Even though it does have Arab influence, it still has East African influence, and those roots go way back. They go way back to the beginning of man.
Hmm.
So they're in a different position um, in terms of having that foundation than Central and West Africans.
Yeah, yeah. When in 2023, I agree with Juan wholehearted. I know that to be factually true. How do I know that? Well, I went to Africa with a group of professors and a couple of medical doctors to on a summer long trip to help them. Well, we served as advisors on how to build a school and advisors on how to build and structure a library. Two totally different neighborhoods that were collectively 7 hours north of Accra. Oh, maybe one was 5 hours. But when I got to the school, to the library, I was just dumbfounded that the volumes of books they had in the library were all American and European books. I was like, where are your dictionaries? Where is the Ghanaian books? They didn't have books, ladies and gentlemen. They had our books. Um, and I was like, wait a minute, y'all have all this history and all this, this proud traditions and history. Where is it written? That's a good point, Wani. I know it's not written in a academic canon from firsthand experience. So how are they remembering their history? Is it just passed down orally? Is that how it works?
They say so, but I still don't see anything. Honestly, it's always some European came over there and started calling them something and they adopted it. And then they think they called themselves that. A lot of words that have been attributed to Africans are really just Portuguese people misspelling and misspeaking words and just telling it to us like it's their word, and it never it never was their word. A lot of things that they think that they named, a lot of vegetables that they try to latch on to and say, oh, you're using that, so that's us and you owe us, are things that Europeans simply brought from the west coast of Africa and or Central Africa. But mostly the when we speak about vegetables, we're speaking about a lot of things that um, they try to claim, like black eyed peas. They were simply brought by um, people coming across the ocean, whether it be on slave ships or cargo ships, one or the other.
Yeah, yeah, but that's my point exactly. Is one of their points of uh the points of pride to shame us is we know. I've heard it how many times. I know my culture, I know my history, but it's not written. It's passed down orally, and we all know that oral tradition is not reliable. When I was in college years ago, we sat crisscross applesauce and in the dorm room, and they played a game. It's called something. A lot of people call it differently, but somebody can interrupt me and tell me what y'all call it. But we sat down, and the first person whispered a story in the first person's ear. And then the objective was the story was to whisper the same story as precise as you can in the next person's ear. It went to about 23 people, and the story was not even close to the same thing by it got to when it got to the last person. So
So are you saying that griots are no good?
I'm saying they're not reliable. They're not reliable. And I don't want to hear this oral tradition is Africa's tradition because last time I checked, Egypt is in Africa and the Egyptians wrote on everything. You have to write it down. So I'm saying, in my view, the culture of West Africa with respect to griots and non and oral traditions, I don't know if I believe that. I think it's a possibility. I'm not going to be definitive. And with no, I mean no disrespect, but I think it's a possibility that the whole thing is a finesse because, like Wani said, they were colonized by Europeans. Europe fractured it, and the Europeans told them who they were, and then they ran with it, and now they're telling us who we are based on who they are when the European told them who they are. It's a hot mess.
It is a hot mess. And we have been lucky that we have all those genealogy records and sailing records and all kinds of things at our fingertips. And so we really do have the advantage here because they can't look back. They all those things they're talking about, they're going to trace back to so what? So what? Trace back to what? With what? 23andMe says you have an ancestor somewhere. What does that prove? It doesn't prove anything. That's the problem with them. They don't have the paperwork trail. We do. And that's what we're talking about. So I want to read, there's three quotes by Frederick Douglass regarding our Americanness, which people seem to want to challenge for some reason in their spare time, like a part time job. So, this is one thing that Frederick Douglass said. He said, the native land of the American Negro is America. His bones, his muscles, his sinews are all American. His ancestors for 270 years have lived and labored and died on American soil, and millions of his posterity have inherited Caucasian blood. Frederick Douglass. Um, The other thing he said is, we have decided to stay. Speech against sending freed slaves to African colonies at the American Anti Slavery Society meeting. And the last quote is, there is not now, there never has been, and we think there will never be any general desire on the part of our people to immigrate from this land to any other, and least of all to the wilds of Africa.
Hmm, fascinating. So I wanted to kind of shift gears just a bit and look at FBAs, and we're going to go back to foreigners being born on January 1st. But I want to shift gears and go to do FBAs have slave names? So let's deal with it. This is kind of a complex subject, and I think y'all are going to learn a lot, particularly from our sister Wani. Um, let's go with what we were taught. We were
Real,
taught. Oh, go ahead. Uh
real
oh.
quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick. Please let everyone know what is a slave name first.
Wani, go ahead.
Some
I would classify a slave name as a name given by a plantation owner, someone who owned a slave, and you were just given that name. Um, so that's what we're classifying as a slave name right now.
So, very good. So, what I'm going to do is put some in the jumbotron. This is going to piss a couple of you off, but we're going to deal with real history today. So, in my case of my father, um, and we've tracked this down. My dad has a degree in history from University of Alabama, and we kind of tracked this down. He's one of the first black people to get that degree there. Um, but anyway, um, what my father's last name comes from my granddad's family, um, who was members of the plantation in North Carolina. There was a plantation there in North Carolina, which kind of still stands to this day. And at this plantation, what they would do is brand the first letter of the name on people on the enslaved people at the plantation. So slave names in this context were a branding. It was like wearing a shirt that says Tommy Hilfiger. That's Tommy Hilfiger's shirt. So wearing my last name is was a brand from a large slave plantation in North Carolina. So I'm about to put in the jumbotron how this worked. So if you look at the anti-slavery document by Drummond, you'll see it says, quote, slave branding provided a mark of identification, facilitated in the recovery of fugitives, and satisfied the satanic claim that Negroes were less than human. So it was you were a fugitive if you ran away from the plantations. Like I told you in an earlier space, uh, uh, um, hold on, I lost my train of thought. Like I told you in the earlier space, America was formed because enslaved Africans would run away from the plantation and keep running until they ran to an Indian plantation. They would do counter strikes and beat the living shit out of the leadership class of the 13 colonies, until the 13 colonies, under the leadership of Benjamin Franklin, called England and got the immigrants to come back over here as weapons, the Georgia Corporation and all that. Well, what you're looking at in that picture is somebody being branded with the first letter of a last name, or in some cases, the whole last name, that identified you as one of this man's Negroes. So, in essence, the context we're using a slave name is a brand to let you know, hey, you belong to um, Mr. H. If you run away, that's one of my niggas. Got it? But Wani, my question is, are all FBA's names slave names? Didn't you tell me there are exceptions, like in your family?
Absolutely not all slave names. A lot of people are named freedmen. Wonder why? A
Hmm.
lot of people rejected those names. When they left those plantations, they rejected those names. And in the case of my family, I kept seeing all these last names, and I was like, wait a minute, why can't I find the slave owner? There's no person that owns a plantation with that name. But those people were indeed, sold by these other people to the federal army, and they definitely were liberated from plantations and joined the Union Army. So what I noticed, I said, okay, here's what's going on. They're taking the county name. So they took the name of the county, and it was pretty popular for people to name themselves those names like Jefferson and other presidential names. But I noticed that, like my last name, Spotsylvania, that's they just cut it. And so that's what's going on. They just took different, one of them is Hamilton, Hardin, Spots, and these are all counties that my ancestors came from. So that's what's happening in my family and a lot of people's families. They just adopted whatever name they wanted. And that's really what we've done here. Um, at a point, there was a wave to reject Christianity and Christian names. So people took on Arabic names and became Muslims, like Muhammad Ali. And so we have the ability to use whatever name we want. Again, we're Black Americans. We can do what we want. We don't have to eat chitlins every day like other people eat these traditional foods all the time. And they don't understand. Yes, we created soul food. Yes, we created Louisiana Creole Cajun food, but many Black Americans eat tacos all week, or pizza all week, or hot dogs all week, or hamburgers all week. And we know what our traditional foods are, but we are American. So we can eat whatever we want. If I don't like my name, I can go to the courthouse and change it. I'm not stuck with this name. I can do whatever I want. That's one of the benefits of being an American. You can reinvent yourself. You can change your name. You can change your religion. And that's what we've done here.
Well, Wani just taught me something and taught us something very powerful that Black Americans, I want you to keep in mind and use in your arsenal when people make you ashamed of your slave name, particularly diasporics, to say, Akata, you have slave name. Well, Wani just said is a lot of our ancestors chose their goddamn last name. Now, unfortunately, I didn't. My granddaddy kept the brand. Um, that's the last name's a slave owner's last name, but certain last names like Freeman, what Wani just said, was chosen by foundational Black names, foundational Black Americans. Now, what I want to show y'all, if y'all look in the jumbotron, I have read the first paragraph. I want to show y'all something real cool. Now, in a couple spaces ago, hell, maybe a couple months ago, I told y'all a story. I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna warm the shit out your heart and just make you feel so cool. It's so cool. I told y'all a story about how Ivy League school. I'm not even gonna mention the name, but an Ivy League school up north did wanted to understand acoustic records, DNA based records, DNA basically DNA based memories. Is that a real thing? So they studied. You study nature to study the all, and they went to the Amazon. Well, there's a bird. The name escapes me in the Amazon who not really doesn't have that many it's not doesn't have a defensive mechanism. It's kind of helpless, but the bird was smart. Instead of going extinct, it said, you know what, I'm a bird, I can fly. It walked around the bottom of the Amazon where shit was eating it. Everything was eating it. So it said, you know, I'm a bird. Why am I walking on the bottom? It flew to the top of those trees. In the Amazon, you have gigantic trees. You have a canopy of gigantic, tall trees, which some scholars argue were planted by a super advanced civilization, but that's another place for another space. Well, anyway, these birds moved into the top of the trees where there were no natural predators and lived there for tens of thousands of years without being checked. And the populations flourished until one day a black swan event happened. The black swan event was a bird of prey, a hawk or eagle, was got lost course or whatever, and was like, "What the shit? There are like a bunch of birds." So they acquired one predator. Um, this particular bird of prey loves eating the little ones. I guess they taste yummy and tender, right? So the birds of prey are really brilliant. They'll fly into the sun. Fighter pilots stole this would later steal this tactic. They fly into the sun and attack out of the sun. Why? Because if you try to look for them, you'll get blinded by the sun. How the hell did they know to do that? I don't know, but they do it. Um, so this bird will fly into the sun and go attack the nest and steal the hatchling for lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever it's doing. And the hatchlings, chilling in their nest without mommy and daddy, would see the last thing they saw before their brother literally exploded. Um, Last thing they saw was everything get dark. So they associated darkness out the blue with death, right? Well, so Harvard went to this place in the Amazon and took some eggs out the nest that weren't. Oh, I said it. Took eggs out the nest and brought it back to a laboratory in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And the scientists and grad students at this school put the eggs in an incubator and hatched the hatchlings. Now, they put a light in front of the hatchlings to keep them warm. And one of the grad students got an idea, wanted to know what would happen if you put a piece of paper over the light and cast darkness on the hatchlings. So they did. And you want to know what the hatchlings did that had never been into the Amazon? You want to know what they all did? They freaked out. They got scared. Heart rates went out the roof, and they had an episode. They were scared to death like somebody was going to die. Well, here goes the question. How the fuck did they know that that bird of prey would come get them when they never been to the Amazon? They're hatched in a lab. Well, we call that a caustic record, DNA based record. Now, what am I going to tell you is going to warm your heart? Keep DNA based record in your mind. If you look at what I just put in the jumbotron, it's called Anti-Slavery Almanac Branding. Branding is with the last names like mine. My last name's a brand. And y'all read with me the first paragraph. Check this out. $20 reward, which was a lot of money back then, ran away from the subscriber and a Negro woman with two children. The woman is tall and black, and a few days before she went off, I burned her with a hot iron on the left side of her face. They would burn women on the face. What kind of animals were these? It also says, I tried to make the letter M, probably Monroe or something, and she kept the cloth over her head and face and a fly bonnet over her head as to cover the burn. I just want to tell y'all, this is about the 10th document I read that showed that our sisters back in the day used to rock bonnets. So my question to you is, the fact that our sisters now are rocking bonnets, is that an acoustic record? Do we know that that's something we used to do? What do y'all think about that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've read so many documents that said that the slaves, and enslaved people would proudly wear bonnets.
Mhm.
I wonder how did we know to start wearing bonnets again? Is that in the Cossack record?
It might be. There's a
That's the
lot
way
of
my
things
mind
you could
works.
wear on your head besides a bonnet.
Bonnets are very particular, very specific.
They are. I did see a lot of enslaved women wearing scarves, like out in the field. So I'm not sure where the bonnet came into it, but it definitely did.
I just thought that was kind of fascinating.
Well, we all have a similar type of hair, and we have a lot of the similar materials around here, like cotton and silk, in the same land. So it makes sense that we would be using, that we would need to cover our hair in a certain way, and that we would use similar products and to cover our hair with. Just
Mm.
my opinion.
Yeah. But my question, just to be clear, is, how did our sisters in the last 10 years just automatically start rocking bonnets again? How did they know? Was that in the DNA?
Um, that's tough because there's shower caps like that, and white people did wear them at points. I don't know. It's that's kind of we've had these bonnets, but they weren't popular. I remember there being a bonnet with a lot of holes in it. That's not the bonnet we're speaking about, but it's shaped like that. I'm
Hmm.
not sure why that became popular, but it was popular before and it's popular now.
But when
Right.
we talk about some type of ancestral DNA memory,
Mm-hmm.
I think a better representation of that is just us knowing not to trust certain people, us knowing not to go alone with white people in certain areas, us knowing that they are danger and that they mean us no good. But I get what you're saying about the bonnets too. I agree with you.
A better example, and yours was better than mine, but another good example like yours is, the police. When the police get behind black people in America, like the majority of black people I know get scared. Like I was in my truck one day, and the police was trying to get somebody else, but he came right behind me, turned on his flashers, and my heart rate went up. And I had to catch myself and say, "Man, you ain't doing nothing wrong. What the fuck wrong with you? I was going the speed limit. I was on my hands-free device." But it's a caustic record. We know that the police. I heard Brother Tariq Nasheed talk about, he was talking about race soldiers, like police. There are a lot of police who are good, really good people. I got students who are really good cops, but there is a trend in certain police departments of white supremacy. And our brother Tariq Nasheed was talking about in those specific white supremacist sects, um, there's an initiation where they have to kill a black man, and it's ridiculous. It's horrible. But what I try to tell my students and my colleagues to look at the history. The police department came from the slave patrols. That do y'all know that? That's what they got birthed out of, the slave patrols. So um, there is a long legacy of white supremacy, in unfortunately, with respect to the police department.
What were we
All right,
talking about
we
just
all
before that?
okay. We're talking about.
Evolution from anti-love
Mm,
insanity. It's evolution.
what?
I, I
We're
don't know
not
what
we're
this
not
dude's.
doing that. We're
But
not doing
I
that.
want to
With
hear you.
We
yeah.
are doing that. It's
He's,
evolution
see,
from
he's,
anti-love
he's
insanity. We
possessed,
are
like I
doing
said
that.
He's
before.
coming through the
He's
mute button.
possessed. Every time they're possessed, you can't stop. You can't mute him. Sir, are you possessed? Because I think you are. Let me exercise
It's
you.
evolution from
Let
anti-love
me exercise you
insanity.
for a minute.
It's evolution from anti-love insanity. They made love meaningless. They are the anti-love insanity.
All right, bye, dude.
Hmm,
I thought he was going to have something to say,
this is
but
very strange.
yeah, that's no cap. That was some like possessed type
If
shit.
I'm gonna get
Talking
roasted,
back.
can I at least do it in my own language?
Yeah, do not roast me in Aramaic, please, sir. Um. Anyway, some of y'all caught that joke.
No. So I want to read one more quote from my homegirl, Harriet Tubman. Um, she said, the white people had the inward here to do their drudgery. And now they were trying to root them out and send them to Africa. Tubman rebuked her racist potential uprooting by saying, they can't do it. We're rooted here, and they can't pull us up.
Wow,
I put it in the chat.
that's wonderful. Um, I've been hearing a lot of people come for Harriet Tubman, and I really got to do some more research. Have y'all heard the narrative? And I know it's a little off topic, but Wani brought her up. The narrative that Harriet, and I'm not seconding this. I'm not.
Mm,
I'm not.
we don't co-sign no Dane Calloway stuff because I know where you're going with that, and we just don't co-sign anything Dane Calloway
Said she
says
wasn't real.
around here. Yeah.
Well,
Is
not
that it?
wasn't real. No, no, no. It was the op. Like she was, because she was a spy, government spy. I've
Yeah,
heard
she was a
several.
spy. She was a nurse. And the side she was on won, so I guess she was good at it. But when my grandfather was liberated from that plantation in Bluffton, the researchers said she was on that plantation doing hospitality, like, um, people don't talk about the auxiliary in the Union Army. It was about 250,000 people, so we really lended a 500,000 people to the war effort because somebody's got to pick up those limbs that are shot off. Somebody's got to be the nurse. Somebody's got to keep the outfits clean. Somebody's got to feed these people. And so
Mhm.
she was organizing that. So the researcher said if your uh, great grandfather was 11 years old when he was liberated, then he would have been given the opportunity to go to school in a makeshift structure in the area or either join the Union Army as an auxiliary, which he did and became a orderly. So she was a real person. She definitely was real. Lots of documentation on the woman.
Yeah, I never doubted her realness. I've been hearing a whole bunch of 10 4 Kufi folk talk about that she was an operative and
For who?
ma- um for the system of white supremacy, which I thought was ridiculous. But
What did they want her
um,
to do?
I don't know. These people are never happy, and
No,
this
they're
is the
not. She was a
the
spy. She was a nurse. She was a lot of things. She was a rebel and someone who saved a lot of people from being enslaved. So, white supremacy, yeah, a lot of people helped to win that war, and that did lead to white supremacy. But the alternative was everybody running amok and fighting. So, uh, Native Americans would be running around scalping people. Black Americans would be running around shooting people with their new guns that they got from the military. White people would be shooting at black people, Native Americans, and other white people in the South. I mean, like, we really didn't have a choice but to settle the country down somehow.
right, right, right. Um, that's more context, and totally agree. I wanted to show y'all a picture of this kind of unrelated, but it's early foundational Black Americans. This is during emancipation. Emancipation means transfer, and I want y'all to look at the diversity. Maybe that's a terrible word. I don't mean diversity in that sense. I mean like biodiversity of foundational Black American children. This is a very rare picture of emancipated slaves. I'm gonna give y'all a picture of Isaac and Rosa, and I'll show you how ethnically diverse we are. Now, these children were in slavery in Louisiana. Oh, there it is. Bam. This right here is foundational Black America. Okay, it's in the purple pill now. Look at, ladies and gentlemen, look at Eric and Rosa. This is who we are. We spin the gamut of um diversity with respect to genes. Isn't that neat? All right. Um, so let's go back to January 1st. How um do Africans get away with having a January 1st birthday? That proves complicity in the system. Wouldn't y'all agree? If there are a bunch of Africans with a January 1st birthday, why don't banks get suspicious about that? You know what I'm saying? What am I saying? I'm saying that Dr. Claude Anderson puts out, he says, when the American economy was expanding and could have offered material benefits to blacks, a new influx, like a whole nother wave of immigrants or refugees arrived to fill the void and further exile blacks from fruitful participation in national life. And that's according to Dan Lacey, historian. So, fruitful participation in national life would be getting the bank loans that I'm talking about, to get the house, to get the to start the business. So if a bunch of black Americans show up at Regions Bank tomorrow and we all have the birthday of February 1st, what do you think the bank's going to do?
You mean January 1st?
I'm just giving a
Yes.
date, January
They're
1st.
going to get suspicious.
They're going to call the
They're
police.
only suspicious of Americans doing anything. Um, you know, they only want us to get all these real IDs and make sure our passports are perfect. And they'll interview you if you lose your passport. And they do all kinds of extreme measures to make sure they'll fingerprint you for random reasons. Oh, you lost your passport? Give me your fingerprints. Oh, you got to go to the bathroom? Give me your fingerprints. They are really hyper on us, and they're not hyper on these people running across the border killing everybody.
That's my point exactly. Go ahead. I'm just saying that's my point exactly.
No, I'm finished. They have a two-tiered legal system. That's why in the UK, uh, some of these men can literally rape a child and get out in a few months because they'll say, well, that's their culture. They didn't know any better. And somebody can post something against immigration in the UK and go to jail for months. There's people in jail for months over posts against immigration, and the immigrants that they're complaining about are raping little girls. Their little girls, little white girls, are being raped, especially by uh, Southeast Asians. Southeast Asian grooming gangs are running around getting all these little 12-year-olds and 11-year-olds caught up in some things, and they don't get in trouble because it's their culture. They've gotten away with marrying their first cousins, and that's resulted in like 1/4 of their people born to Pakistanis over there are just sitting on the sofa screaming. They can't see, hear, or talk, so they just scream. They don't know where they are. They don't know what's happening. They don't have any ability to use their senses. And they told them, stop marrying your first cousin. They said, nope, you're being racist. Nope, that's our culture. You can't make us stop. So they did just implement a law to stop them. So we're under the same two-tiered legal system. Same thing with the homeless. They can do whatever. And they actually try to put a separate court for homeless people because they were like, they're not going to pay any of these fines. So we're not going to give them any fines. So, yes, they can pull their pants down, flash everybody. They can do anything they want and they don't get in trouble because there's no way to fine them. The police are only interested in getting money. They're only interested in giving you a ticket, pulling you over, getting in your face because you have money to pay and you don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. So they want to get in my face and threaten me, but the bum wants to go to jail. So they won't do that. They won't do that to them because they're like, "Oh, you want me to go to jail? Fine. I'll go to jail. 3 square meals. Sign me up." They know that. Plus some of the homeless people are, off. and they
Mm.
don't get along in the jail system. So they don't want them there for that. They literally don't want people in jail because they're not good enough to go to jail. You have to be sane enough to go to jail. They don't want crazy people in there.
It's a hot mess. It has a very little or nothing to do with justice. And that's very true, Wani. I had a I want to say colleague. I worked at Planet Fitness when I was in grad school to keep the lights on, and one of my coworkers was a just got out of jail. He did a year for getting his fifth DUI or whatever, but he was telling me in Memphis they charge you $200 a day, and this is off topic. I'll get back to topic in a minute. But $200 a day at we call it 201. You heard a rapper say 201, 201 Popular. That's the jail. And he said they charge you $200 a day at 201 for room and board while you're in jail. So when you finish your sentence, if you did a couple months, your bill will be thousands of dollars. And if you don't pay that bill, they'll throw you back in jail. It's an endless cycle. You made me think about that when you said it. But back to the topic, I really want to press something hard home that I want y'all to hear from my standpoint. My second year in law school, I took a class called UCC, like Secure Transactions. Very interesting class. Well, what I found out in UCC, that literally stands for Universal Commercial Code. America operates off a code like the Matrix. Well, anyway, secure transactions are transactions that in the bank, when you make a transaction, basically what you buying, who you buying it from, blah blah blah. Very few people are allowed to see that. Now, if you walk to the bank teller and you give her consent, she can look it up and see it. But I'm talking about on a regular basis, there are people really high up in the bank that monitor. They're really looking for algorithms of what we call irregularities. What's some make some's fishy, that type of thing. And when an irregularity pops up, an alert goes out, and shit. Now we got computers that pick up anomalies, and the fraud alert will come out, and then the people get initiated to investigate that type of thing. So y'all meaning to tell me, look me square in my face, and tell me a whole fleet of Africans go to the bank to get a loan, $100,000 loan, and every last one of their birthday is January 1st, and it doesn't trip an irregularity? What is the possibility that they miss out on the majority of Africans getting loans? They just miss the detail of every last one of their birth, or majority of them having January 1st birthday. What am I saying? I'm saying what Dr. Claude Anderson just said, that the uh, the ethnic and racial immigrants historically have been a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternative to interact with blacks. What he just said there, in context of what I'm saying, is when I go to the bank and try to get a loan, like I done how many times, they won't give it to me because they're giving it to somebody else who came from the diaspora, who has a birth date that should trip an irregularity. And the last thing I'm gonna say on that, according to Dr. Anderson, he says, "quote There is little cooperation, political or otherwise, between blacks and minority groups. For the most part, ethnic minorities do not support black causes. They don't." But they go to our colleges and get in our fraternities and sororities and get our scholarships. Dr. Anderson further says, quote, "They've been getting a free ride at black people's expense on civil rights and minority programs. As members of loosely formed political coalitions, they are mostly quiet while blacks agitate, but they are quick to stake their claim on affirmative action benefits won by black." So the purpose of this space is just to let y'all know what's going on and just give you some ideas on what's going on with with the opportunities that we should get, and let you know the wedges that are in the way of them, um, with respect to foreigners being born on January 1st.
I was going to say something about the police when you mentioned that, your heart rate goes up and you feel terrified. And I feel terrified too. My mother felt terrified, but my father did not. The police would pull him over and he did not feel terrified. And he was very cool. He was a jazz player, so cool was popular with his group. He was very cool, never said anything. Oh, well, my light is broken. Okay, fine. I'll get it fixed immediately. He didn't get combative. He didn't get mad. And guess what? He never got a ticket. He never got a ticket. But because I hung out with other people that were kind of targeted by the police, um, I was, we were pulled over for nothing all the time because of the neighborhood. And I became extremely uh, leery and fearful when the police pulled me over. But because I copied off of my father, I would lower my emotions and act like I wasn't upset to be pulled over. I was, but I could pretend that I wasn't. My mother just freaked out. She didn't know how to pretend she wasn't upset. And she would want to, what did I do? Blah, blah. I just said, yep, okay. Yep, I was speeding. Every time I got a ticket, I was actually doing the thing, the thing that I got the ticket for, so I didn't get mad about it. I just took the ticket and didn't fight. Just get out of the interaction alive. That's the goal of the game.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing, and with certain, that reminds me of like the animal kingdom. I'm gonna tell y'all something funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. In California and Oregon, I'm sure Monty can support me on this. There's a now let me put in context. We're talking about how in the in the animal kingdom, animals get attracted to fear, right? They like fear. If you run from a, the context I'm giving you, if you run from a of a like run from a bear or run from a, especially I'm talking about the, what do you call those things, the cougars, those wildcats.
Predators.
And yeah,
Predators like to chase you, especially cats.
yeah, that's exactly what that's what I'm talking about. Wani, in California, don't y'all have a problem with those big old cats, those
We did have mountain lions, but not
mountain
so
lions? I
much
couldn't say it.
anymore.
I couldn't say it. Mountain lion. Well, Joe Rogan was talking about some shit. Well, before I lose my point, let's talk about. So I've always wondered about these people, these predators, and wondering, do they have animalistic qualities? Because when you get, there's case after case of when foundational Black Americans show fear, that they feed on it. Like y'all remember the young sister who got shot in the face when she was talking about Jesus. Um, that
The
cop
one
looked,
that said rebuke you,
yeah, yeah.
Sandra,
So,
Sonia Massey.
Sonya Massey, I was watching that video, and to me, it seemed like he was feeding off of her fear. It's like he got excited about it, like the animals. Like, well, what I was talking about is, uh, there was a study done on in California on mountain lions. They were looking at statistics, and they saw that a lot of people getting killed by mountain lions were bikers, like on a bicycle. Like with the basically the mountain lion, see that bike rolling past, and the mountain lion couldn't handle it. Like it was just like, oh shit, I gotta get him. Like basically, Joe Rogan said it was like somebody threw a big ball of yarn down the hill, and they're like, no, I'm about to chase this shit. But yeah, a whole bunch of fucking bikers lost their lives because they'll turn a corner on that.
What?
Hell
They
yeah,
killed him?
hell yeah. The mountain lion, I see a bike go down the street and be like, oh shit, gotta have him, and just kill the shit out of a person. you know,
I
I
didn't
guess
know
that's not
that
funny.
they were. I did not know that they were that deadly because I don't know why I had that impression. People just seemed like they were, seeing them and they were kind of as scared of them as they were, but I guess not.
Man, I was and this is very off topics, but I was in Shelby Farms. There's a really beautiful green space in Memphis that makes absolutely no sense. It's off of shit. I'm forgetting streets now. Well, it's called Shelby Farms. It's about 15 miles square in the middle of Memphis, of just green space. It has like lakes and trails, and it's just top notch beautiful. And I used to walk my during the pandemic. I walked my dogs. I had another little dog I gave to my mom, but I walked my dogs. And Shelby Farms will close at set back then. It would close at sundown, like 7 or 8. and it was just Memphis is country. People think it's a big city, but Memphis is country, and they will lock like Shelby Farms had like real game wardens and stuff. They would just lock the gates. So I was there a little long, got lost on the trail, and got back to my car, and the gate was locked. So I didn't have my Jeep. I had a Lexus back then, so I wasn't gonna jump anything in that Lexus. So I said, "Oh shit!" And I was walking back down the trail. The sun had gone now. It was dark. Um, and I'm like looking for a cop or a warden to let me out. And I swear to God, I saw a lion walk. I mean, that thing was so fucking big. Like it was. Cats are scared of dogs, no matter how big they are.
Wait, a
Dogs freak them
mountain
out.
lion?
It was honestly, Wani, it looked like a
A
fucking
regular
lion.
lion
It was a
in
mountain lion, but
Memphis?
I'm telling you, though, it was a mountain
Oh my
lion. But those
God, you're
things are
not supposed to be over
so
there.
they're so big. Like I didn't know mountain lion. It was.
What?
I'm six. I'm about 6'3", 250. Back then, I was about even bigger, 250, almost 260, and it was like as big, probably a little bigger than me. Like it was fucking gigantic. I'm usually armed in Memphis. Like I'm licensed to carry there, but I had a firearm with an extra clip of ammunition, and it was a moment where I was like, I thought it was about to go down. That motherfucker was so big. But he saw my dogs and he didn't run off, but he didn't like the dogs. He kind of walked off. But those things are gigantic. It was at least 160 pounds or something. I mean, it
Wow.
was
That
huge.
must have been scary.
It was a moment like I thought I was hallucinating for a minute. I was like, "Why is there a goddamn lion?" I mean, it looked no different than a female lion. It's a, you know what? It's a possibility. It could have been somebody could have had a lion for a pet or some shit, and it ran away. Who
It could
knows?
have been.
But
They did. Well, I don't know if they did that a lot in Memphis, but it could have been.
Wasn't there
it could have been some.
wasn't there a story
Go ahead.
about a black man who had a lion or a tiger? He had some big gigantic animal in his house as a pet, and he was keeping it in the projects. And then it ended up bite.
What?
Yeah, and it ended up biting him.
What?
And he
What
went to
state?
the. He went to. This was, I think, I'm almost certain it was somewhere in New York or New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I know that story. Yeah,
I gotta pull that up.
That's fun. Yes, please do. That is really funny. That's
I remember the story too. The dude had like she said, he had a full blown fucking lion in his apartment in New York. I think it was the
what?
projects
How did
too.
he get into? But
It perfectly got along. It was completely domesticated. But the story, ladies, is another cat jumped in the like a regular like a tabby or some shit jumped in the window and hissed at the lion or some shit.
what?
And the lion was like, "Oh shit!" Like it broke out into a fight over
It
another cat.
acted out over a tabby cat?
Yep.
What? That doesn't
The
make
owner
sense.
was bitten, and the owner went to the emergency room and said it was bitten by a dog, and they knew, doggone well,
Oh, he
that
was
wasn't a
trying to
dog bite.
cover up.
They said they said a dog don't do that.
No, totally different teeth. So,
Damn.
speaking about back on the foreigners and their strange birthdays and strange backstories, we created the whole kind of like backstory for what Africans are about. And the Pan Africans, they didn't know. So they just made up stuff. They're like, oh, they all speak Swahili. They dress in dashikis and kufis. And they just, had them all doing the same thing. Well, they do some, in some cases, do a lot of the same thing, but they have over 2,000 languages and they have 3 to 4,000 distinct tribes and ethnic groups. Now, you know, outside looking in, it still looks like people playing drums, people wearing a particular fabric, and people weaving baskets. Is basically what it looks like. But we should not never have done that because when we did that, we really minimized Africans. And They did not record their history the way that they should have. Even the Khoisan, who are hunter gatherers, have a long history of recording things in caves, letting people know what is going on. They have been very helpful to archaeologists and anthropologists because we can see what's going on. And West Africans have not been helpful because they just talk, and this has become part of their culture to just make up whatever they want. And Pan-Africans following in that, not even knowing they're following in that, they just made up this whole thing of African life, and they have these strong family units, and it takes a village to raise a child, and all of these little phrases that they fed us to make us feel bad about ourselves, really. Don't you want to be African? Look at this thing I'm selling you. Look at these great people. And then when you look at them, when you have met them, you see that if it takes a village to raise a child, why do you have more orphans than we have Black Americans running around Africa? Why did I see a woman trying to make money off of a half dead child one time when I was visiting? She was walking around with this child that looked like it was dying. And I later found they said, oh no, don't give her any money. She just finds children that are dying and walks around with they're not her children. She's trying to make a buck off of a dying child. They do a lot of atrocious things and things that are not very, um, they don't have a humanitarian type of mindset over there. Um, they have a lot of tribal genocides, deadly rituals. One of the hallmarks of West African religion is bumping off your family members. You want to get something? Oh, you got to sacrifice your twins. You got
Jesus.
to kill your children. Got to kill people you like in your family. Now, that's not much different than the religions that we dealt with. It's just that we just don't want to do all that. Our religions require blood sacrifices as well. Abrahamic religions require blood sacrifice. And if you're not sacrificing blood, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. Because Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they require uh, blood to be spilled. And before that, they required human sacrifice. But nobody wants to talk about that, and that's fine. But just because we don't have the stomach for it doesn't mean that it's changed. Um, Another thing I noticed that Marcus Garvey always pops up, and I'm wondering who is resurrecting this man, because our people told him to get out. They had a Garvey must go campaign because he was a fraud. And I'm going to read just a few things. He was pro going back to Africa. He had a back to Africa movement. And as I read before, our ancestors, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and others, said, no, we're American. We're part of this soil. We're a mixed group of people, and we don't want to go to Africa. And Frederick Douglass factually called it the wilds of Africa. You would have to go over there and stand in the wilds and do what was already done here. Clear the space to grow things. Nobody wants to terraform a new place that has all kinds of trees and everything around. That's not easy to do. So, uh, some of the things that Marcus Garvey did was he aligned himself with the Ku Klux Klan. He befriended a Methodist preacher named Ernest Severe Cox, who was a proclaimed white supremacist. He also befriended other white supremacists as well, but I didn't put those down. I'll look into those later. He wrote a letter to Ernest Severe Cox that said, the fact is that the modern Negro is a lazy, good for nothing slumberer, and that Garvey Must Go campaign followed. I think he really flipped people over the edge when he said that we didn't have the right to get on the train because we have nothing to do with trains. Okay.
Wow.
We have everything to do with trains, from creating music genres on them, being owned by them, building them, and creating the real McCoy inventions for those trains.
Yeah, what this is gonna be very unpopular, but I want my people to know this and take this with you, download it and save it. for your own records. Don't hate the messenger. I'm just the messenger. If you look at the diagram provided by Dr. Claude Anderson on page 109 of White Labor Black Wealth, you'll notice that the first name in the transatlantic slave trade was African tribal chiefs. Now, Dr. John Henry Clark posited that they were showing off. They were showing off to the people they didn't understand. They were showing off to the Europeans and the Arabs, like, look at me, I have power over this other African. Matter of fact, he's nothing to me. I'll sell him to you. And the Arabs and the Europeans thought they were crazy. Like, you'd sell yourself to me? That made them look weak, and they didn't even understand that they were looking like an idiot, looking weak to the Europeans and to the Arabs. Let me stop right there and put a pin in something. That class of African tribal chiefs are still in leadership today. I saw it when I was in West Africa. They just don't have they have mansions and BMWs now, but they're still in power. This group of people who sold us off. But if you look at the diagram, you'll see in 1500, um actually, let's go before that. If you look at 1400, you're looking not that long relatively after the Renaissance in Europe. So basically, the Moors helped the Europeans get their shit together and learn science. And what did the Europeans do? They turned around and used it back on their ass. You know, be careful what you tell people, right? And in 100 years after the Europeans started finding out that Africa had a whole bunch of wealth, a whole bunch of gold, a whole bunch of resources, a whole bunch of women who took baths, according to Chancellor Williams, and I meant exactly what the fuck I said. In my book, I identify, according to Chancellor Williams, that the Portuguese married Portuguese men got heard tale and rumors from Vasco da Gama that Africa had women who walked around topless and actually bathed regularly. Now, what does that say about Portuguese women? Y'all do the math. But that was too much information for the Portuguese men, who in turn left their wives, divorced their wives on the spot, and got on a boat, spent their life savings to go on a boat to Africa to go on a raping campaign because the women were clean. Of course, they used God, the name of God, to do it. They said they were pastors when they were um, rapists. I have a whole chapter on that in my book, but I digress. The tribal, what I was saying is, after the Europeans unleashed themselves upon Africa to go steal resources, they were met by tribal chiefs. That's in 1500, according to Dr. Claude Anderson. In 1500, these insane rape raper, I don't even know the word. I don't know the word for them people.
Rapist?
I want to say something greater than that. I don't know a word. These insane evil people were met by tribal chiefs who were willing to sell their own people to insane people they didn't understand. So what I'm saying is, deal with it. Africans have a huge responsibility in initiating that damn and perpetuating that damn slave trade. Now, what do you mean about perpetuating? I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about it. According to Dr. Snyder, on page 7 of their masterpiece, his husband and wife, um, they say, quote, the slave captain had to depend on Africans at every turn. When he arrived at his trading with his trading goods, he did not dare leave them with an unguarded beach at an unguarded beach. He had to hire African captain of the sand to watch over him until they can hire other Africans to transport them inside the fort. So that's a white Portuguese slaver, or sometimes British, mainly Portuguese slaver, who paid an African to watch the slaves while he was at the beach. They call him the captain of the sand. Um, to watch over the slaves, blah, blah, blah. He said to get them to the beach. Then he had to house them somewhere until he could complete his cargo. He learned that if he loaded immediately the slaves he first bought, he ran the risk of having them jump overboard. If he kept them in chains too long, many of them inconveniently sickened and died. So he argued to send his early purchase to the holding pens in the forts to be guarded and fed under a captain of the trunk. That's another African who had the rank of captain of the trunk. This African made sure the slaves were fed. They're getting paid to do this, people. Last but not least, if he could not find enough slaves for the sale on the coast, he might have to entrust the trading goods to an African who would make excursions inland to buy slaves from him. This we're looking at complicity, young people. Deal with it. This is what we're dealing with. Dr.
And they
John Henry,
also
go ahead.
they also built the dungeons and guarded them.
Yeah, this is 2025. 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. And 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 is the number of the completion. That's a 9 is an ending. What is end is our willingness to not believe the truth. Let's deal with the truth. We're all grown-ups. Most of us are grown-ups. The truth is Africa was the first place to turn their back on us.
One thing I wanted to cover is that when you push them on the you sold slaves narrative, now, before we resisted that because we did not have an understanding that we weren't Africans. So now that we know we're not Africans, and we have acknowledged that they sold people into slavery, not their people. They say that they were selling enemies and nearby groups that they didn't like. So, uh, to be honest, I think they just grabbed up whoever they could get. I don't think it was organized because it doesn't show organization in the places that purchased the slaves, and you can see the types of people that plantations got, and I can also see my DNA profile has got a whole bunch of different things going on. So I don't think that well, I know for a fact they didn't get people from one source, and it wasn't organized in the sense that they said this particular group is going to go over there. There were 10 to 20% people that were Muslim, and a lot of people tried to relate that to them being Moorish. They may have had Moorish influence. Um, and then some others were different backgrounds. But one of the things that Africans will say when you press them, they'll say, well, our slavery wasn't like that. You could, be raped and forced to be married to the owner, and you were part of the family, and we didn't know that the white people were going to do this, that, and the other to you. But in researching, I found that no, their slavery was not better. They did the same identical things. Rape, forcing you to um, do whatever. And even cases when the owner died, they would bury the enslaved people alive. So they did not have um, a better attitude. Even that Madame Tinubu, whose people are in power now, she said, I'd rather drown my slaves than sell them to a Portuguese slaver at a discount.
Wow. Oh, she wanted all her money, right?
Yes.
According to Dr. On Wani's point, according to Dr. Snyder, the trade, let's the slave trade, the slave trade not only commercialized the economy and changed the everyday life of the Africans, but it also corrupted them. So basically, when you look back at that chart and look at 1500, when the insane, I want a word for those Portuguese, demonic Portuguese showed up on the shores, the tribal chiefs, the African tribal chiefs, thought they were going to sell slaves to them. That act right there corrupted African culture. And honestly, on a higher level, let's get outside of academics. I think it was a spiritual thing. If you believe in a higher power, what do you think a higher power would think if you're selling your cousins to an insane person? Just, oh, yeah, come on, get them. Dime a dozen. You can have my cousins. Anyway,
They seem to not
Dr.
have any accountability for these things because if you press them on it, they'll just say, oh, the white man made me do it. The white man made me kill 10 to 30 million people in the Congo. white man made me participate in the transatlantic slave trade. The Arab man made me participate in the trans-Saharan slave trade. And we should get money because we were stupid business people who didn't get a lot of money. They actually want reparations because they were bad business people and they were taking umbrellas for 40 people and selling people in lots of 40. Um, my research really shows that a lot of times they didn't even want money. They just wanted you to take them away because they had to house them, and in some cases they were the enemy, and they just wanted them to go. So that's one of the reasons why they didn't sell. But just imagine this, okay? Human beings were being sold for $300 to $800, even more, in America times 40. So you go at, why wouldn't a European go over there? Think about this. You can go somewhere and buy something that's worth 300 to $800, approximately, and you could do it times 40 and give them an umbrella or a broken mirror. They're selling people in lots of 40. How much profit is there? You've not even spent a dime. You've given these people nothing. And they've given you
Hmm.
40 people. And then you could take them across the ocean and you can sell those people for that much more money. That also put a target on us. That means that if we look the wrong way, or if the slave owner doesn't like us, or if the captain of the ship is in a bad mood, they can just throw us overboard because we're worthless. They made us
Right.
worthless. They put a target on our back in every conceivable way. Because when I was younger, I used to say, well, they couldn't have treated us that bad because we had value. We were like
Shit.
livestock and horses. So why would they beat something that, was valuable? That was like I didn't know yet, because like I think I was like 10 years old, and I said, well, they would treat us like animals. Not that that's good, but I felt that they wouldn't harm us because that would hurt their profits. And I soon found out that, yeah, they will, and they don't care. They're more interested in being mean than having profits. And we know that because they still lose trillions of dollars every year being racist and being sued. They've transferred a lot of money being sued for racist acts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just like those tribal chiefs didn't understand what they're dealing with. It's the same group of people, which is a whole nother space for a whole nother place. You're dealing with what in psychology is called the nature versus nurture argument. The environment that the European had to survive, and I mean had to deal with in order to exist, in some cases was so brutal that it created a personality that was absolutely ruthless, according to Dr. Michael Bradley, and a personality that is what to this day is misunderstood. We are just now understanding the European disposition. We're just now getting the kind of, oh, that's what you about. But it's actually kind of a hard thing to understand because the European culture, is one of smiling and superficial kindness. Remember, the late great Paul Mooney said, "We thought we had a domesticated dog, but that European is a wolf." Let's leave that there, and we'll have another space on that. But what we're talking about is the African tribal chiefs who sold us. Well, that's what Juan is referring to. If you look at the timeline, it's 1500, the year 1500. So, like Wani said, they sold them for pennies on the dollars. These are damn leadership. These are chief. These are motherfuckers in Africa that got bank. They got mansions and servants and Mercedes Benz. Let me take it a step further. Somebody who travels to the diaspora a lot. These are people who make it to the United States. I said it. Yes, I said it. Not everybody from Africa makes it to the United States. In West Africa, I met a group of just sweet, humble writers. I wish I could teleport them to Memphis. teleport them to Atlanta. There are people in Africa who are humble in those jungles, who are really our friend, who love us, but they never make it over here because they don't have money and they're not complicit with this system. The people in general who make it to the United States, who make it to historically black colleges, are descendants of that fucking tribal chief in 1500. How you think they feel about us? You think they love us? Dr. Snyder says allegedly African kings sold wives. These motherfuckers selling their wife, which is understandable in certain cases, but not in this case. Um, with whom they were angry. Um, African parents sold children, whom they could not feed, and desperate Africans sold themselves. Barbeau told a son who defeated his royal father's efforts to sell him, his daddy trying to sell him, um, by selling his daddy first, only to be met on his return home by a fellow tribesman who took his profits and sold him. This is an absolute and total corruption. This is the culture that America is trying to help, bend over backwards to help. This is the culture that's looking at you and saying, hello, brother from another mother. This is a culture that needs to be reminded of page 5 of Slavery in America and needs to be reminded of page 109 in Black Labor, White Wealth.
Mm,
I
beautiful.
Um,
digress.
did you want to go?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say another cosplaying issue is uh, Africans visiting the United States and selling slaves from America, and also mulatto people that have money selling slaves or buying slaves or whatever they were doing. Uh, they're being attributed to being Black Americans selling themselves. We did have people that bought their family members. We know that for a fact.
Like John
But
Horse.
yeah, there was a lady named Fenda Lawrence, Fenda. She was a Gambian slave trader, a free black woman, they call her, and very wealthy merchant. And she visited the American South in the second half of the 18th century to sell slaves and other things. She was partner to an English merchant by the name of Lawrence. That's where she got her name. And she traveled to what they called British North America, now the United States. And she had respect, status as a person of color. And she was a very powerful trader on the river Gambia, on the west coast of Africa. So a lot of these people were running around cosplaying. Now all she had to do was step her African slave selling behind over here, and she can just pivot. Oh, I'm a Black American selling slaves. No, you're not. You see, how many times did they do that and get away with it? How many times did a mulatto person just follow in their father's footsteps and put that on our name? That's what I'm saying. We have to protect our name because anybody can step on these shores and say, oh, I'm a Black American, and do anything that they want and blame it on us. They've been doing this for hundreds of years.
I'm
That's
talking
what
through
that's
I'm
what
talking through a
delineation
mute, but
that's what delineation is all about. You're not going to put that garbage on our name any longer.
no, and what we're gonna remind you of is what's in the jumbotron. Take that, young people, save it to your phone, save it to your computer, and point it to them. Say, hey, where were you? When I was being sold, where, where were your people? I tell them, where were you when my grandmother was being raped on in Aniana, Alabama? And say, hey, tribal chiefs sold, began the modern black slavery. Why did you do that? Why did you think it was a good idea for you to sell yourself and people to look like you to somebody you didn't understand? There's a consequence that they're going to have to suffer for doing that. And the thing that makes my blood boil is they usurp this group, this class of people, these descendants of the modern tribal chief are the ones who make it to university, the ones who make it to medical and law, American, historically black medical and law schools, who take our job, to take our positions from our children, and then brag about their fancy job when they are direct lineage of people who fucking sold us. They need to be reminded of this, people.
I agree. So back to Pan Africanism, I'll follow up on some of the things that happened after Marcus Garvey. There was a American Society of African Culture, AMSAC. It was an organization of Black American writers, artists, and scholars. They were caught working with the CIA, and they preached the same things that we learned. Learned to feel stateless, learned to ignore Black American culture, which is one of the greatest cultures um, that has ever um, formed in these last thousands of years. I don't see any other cultures that have everybody following them around. The only other one I know is the Egyptian culture. We are a very popular people, and we don't know it because we're sitting in it. We don't see it because we haven't maybe left our state or maybe left the country. But when you do leave the country, people know who you are. People are excited about you, and there's a reason. We have a different status outside of the United States, and it's not the same status as Africans. Trust me, we're not there in our countries to leech. We're there to visit and go home. That's what we do overseas. We visit, we contribute. We might be a athlete, a coach, or we might train foreign players to play. We are always summoned to help people to advance themselves in music, sports, and also in businesses and in charitable organizations. We have a lot of people working in charitable organizations. Just a couple more. Um, the next one is the African People's Socialist Party. They said they weren't Pan Africanists, but they are. They got caught and they were working with Russians to spread propaganda and interfere with the elections. And when I researched it, it said that they didn't care who you voted for. They just wanted to basically just have people chaotic in a chaotic state. Like, oh, should we vote for Democrats or Republicans? Well, I don't know. Let's stay home. They wanted us all over the place. They didn't have any, I guess they didn't have any dog in the fight, and they got busted as well. They claimed that they weren't, but yeah, were working with Russians, so that's very suspect. Then the last group, um, this Narcan Cobra and another one called IBW, they are funded, grant funded, everything, behind them, and they get on these reparations boards and sabotage everything they touch because they do one of the most stupidest things on earth, try to say that everyone was enslaved, every brown person suffered, and so even the slave sellers, they didn't know what they were doing, they should get reparations. Anybody and everybody in the world should. Let's make this a global reparations. They take our American reparations claim and they are determined to globalize it and tell us to take our asses over to Ghana. These people are sick. Why would I trade in a first world country to go to a third world country? It makes no sense. There's plenty of stories of nightmares in Ghana, murders, rapes, kidnappings of our people. And we accept that. We just sit there, oh, they don't know any better, and chalk it up to charity. I've seen people robbed of all their charitable goods. They went over there to do charity, and they had a whole apartment full of charitable goods. And those people stole everything they were going to donate to their own people. And that couple just sat there looking stupid, talking about, oh, they're poor. There's no excuse for not being a humanitarian. I don't care what your economic uh, all of these people doing these horrible things, they're surrounded by a bounty, plenty of fruits and vegetables falling off the trees, monkeys they could chase up the tree, anything they want. They're not starving in the places that I've seen them do these very brutal acts. Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, um, I trust you're doing great. Happy New Year, everyone. Um, I really understand where you're coming from. I saw this article in the comments about African tribes tribal leaders being very instrumental in the slave trade, and you're right about that. It's quite unfortunate. One thing I believe, though, is I believe both sides are fighting the same enemy. And yeah, you made another point. You said, why would someone leave a first world country to go stay in a third world country? I find that upset as well. I think that's stupid because like everyone is trying to leave Ghana and go outside, right? But there's something you said about Ghana that I would like to. I wouldn't say correct because we all have our different experiences, but I'd like to like maybe shed some light on that. Do you have any articles or anything supporting your examples of people being murdered and raped in Ghana? Because like the Ghana I personally know, Ghanaians don't move like that. If you say Nigerians or somewhere else, it's not. If even with Nigeria, it's not like all of Nigeria. It's like
Mm-hmm.
specific parts, right? But Ghana is a really peaceful place, right? As far as I know, right? And I'm speaking as a Ghanaian. I lived in the US for a few years and then I came back, right? I work in cybersecurity, so I do most of my jobs online and stuff. But like I just would like to know if you know any particular stories
I
so
do.
I can like go look at it because like murders and rapes in Ghana, Ghanaians are crazy loving people, man. Trust me. There's definitely outliers
I
everywhere.
don't trust, but go ahead. Go
That's
on.
fine. That's fine. I like that. You shouldn't trust a stranger online. I really believe in that. But I'll tell you, man, if you have like proof of stuff like this, if you have news articles, if you have videos, I think you should probably link it in the comments. Else, Ghana is a really beautiful place. If you've not come to Ghana before, you should. Right? Thank you very much.
I'm going to link it. Yeah, there were two sisters from
Hmm.
Ghana. They were Pan-Africanists and they went over to Ghana
Hmm.
and they bought some property. I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
you know this case because the guy was lynched. He was executed for killing them. He said he bought some property and he said, "Nope, this is my tribal land, yada yada yada." Same
Hmm.
old unprofessional behavior. And
Hmm.
so it persisted and they had to go to court to,
Yeah.
try to stop him from bothering them. And of course, the court said, of course, you bought the land, it's your land, you can have your farm and do whatever you're doing on it. But he came back over there and raped these two older women.
Hmm.
They were older in their 60s and 70s and killed them. And that was the end of
That's
them.
true.
They were Pan Africanists um,
That's true.
and they
And
believed
the
all
guy
of their
was
rhetoric.
lynched, right? The guy
Yes,
was
he
lynched,
was.
right?
Yep, he was.
By Ghanaians, right?
Yep,
Yeah, because exactly my point. Ghanaians really hate stuff like this. Ghanaians are the type of people who don't like injustice. I'm not saying Ghanaians are perfect people, right? But I know Ghanaians, man. And it's quite unfortunate, the story. But one thing I will say, if you know anyone sort of planning to buy any property or something, if you can buy a house, right? Especially if you're not buying a place in Accra, because Accra is like the capital city, right? And in Accra, we have a lot of people who are educated, right? Least you'll get is like a master's degree, right? But if you go buy a house in a rural area, right, where people have the propensity to do some sort of things, and you don't know the area too well. I wouldn't even do that. I live in Tema, it's right by a car, right? But I wouldn't go somewhere I don't know, right? And go get some land there and then build upon it. One thing you don't want to do anywhere in Africa, right, is have land litigation issues with anyone, right? So it's really unfortunate. I wish they had someone to talk them through their decision and all that. It's quite unfortunate. I'm glad the guy got the justice he deserved and stuff like that, but it's really quite unfortunate. I will say though that if you're gonna make an investment anywhere and you don't know the place too well, please do it. That's not just Ghana, anywhere else. Please do try and get in contact with someone who lives there, knows the place, someone who's an expert in a certain field, right? And whatever you do, have a lawyer with you, right? And make sure if you're gonna buy a property, if you have to choose between a house and a land, buy a house. Okay, if you want to buy a house in Ghana for any reason at all, I support your thing still. I don't know why anyone would want to leave the US and come stay in Ghana. Like if especially if you're American, like what's the point? If you have the money to maybe get some vacation house and beach house here that you'd like, Ghana is a really fun place to be, especially around this time. But I don't think you should sort of wing it and just go with the wind in Ghana. Nah, it's not France, or anywhere else. But yeah, fairly man, it's not something that's like a um, it's not something that's a characteristic of this place, right? Ghanaians are really
I
peaceful,
I put this
fun-loving
story in the
people.
jumbotron. Um,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's really sad, man. It's fucked up. Oh
there's been
man,
some other issues where
it's really
people have
sad.
purchased
I think
property.
you should yeah, I think you should put all that stuff here so it creates awareness so people know, the right thing to do sort of. You get me? It's just really sad, man. I don't know how
Now,
to feel about
now
this.
you said, and this is an interesting pivot. You said
Yeah.
that those kings did do those things, but we're
Mhm.
fighting the same enemy. How?
Yeah.
How?
Okay, I like that. Yeah, let me tell you, man. So I don't know if you read this book, right? I love to read, right? There's this book, and at a point in time, I was really fascinated with slavery, particularly, right? Especially um, the last testimonies of the last batch of people who were slaves, right? So people who were slaves till around maybe the lived through the 60s to maybe the early 70s, right? I wanted to know their viewpoint, okay, and I also wanted to know if there was anything documented about their lives, right? Because I was really tired of hearing from people who didn't live through that time, and I just wanted to know how it felt like from a first person point of view. Okay, personally, I did a lot of research on I will say human lack of empathy, especially black people, right? Because like if you think about it, all over the world, man, everybody has an issue with black people, justified or not. I went to uni in China, right? And for some reason they just didn't like black people. So it didn't matter if I was American, I was African, I was Somali, I was well, just because I was black, they had a problem with me, right? So the black struggle is real. Okay. Um. So regarding the tribal chiefs, right? When I read Olauda Equiano's story, right? So he was a slave who ended up going to Portugal, right? After a long chain of being sold from owner to owner, he made a living and bought his freedom, right? Thankfully, because he ended up in Portugal, where you could have done that as a black person, right? Okay. So according to him, he grew up in a sort of royal home. Like he was like, he had a good family, right? And then there was a raid, and he was picked up in that raid. Okay, I think he was playing with his siblings in the in the yard, and there was no one around. It was just them playing, and then someone entered the house and picked them up, right? And it could have been anyone. Do you get where I'm coming from? There were so many raids at that time. It could have been anyone. Anyone could have been picked up and could have ended up as a slave, right? So who's the enemy? The enemy is like a part of us, right? It's the and you still see it today, like wherever. And I always used to say it because even in China, right, wherever there were white people, these guys would always group together and form. They were so united, like nothing. When two white people saw each other, they just had to see each other and they get along, right? But if I saw
So
another
why are
black
you
person,
why are you pivoting? So you went from, I'm sorry for interrupting,
Go
Professor
ahead,
Nikki and
Philip.
Wani.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Philip.
Sean.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
all right,
yeah.
yeah.
No,
He
I'm
pivoted
getting
from
I'm getting to my point. I'm getting
no
to
no
my point.
you pivot from this is rare in Ghana to like, oh, there was a lot of rapes around this time and stuff like that. So which one is it?
Bro, are you even listening to me, brother? Okay, let me tell you what I mean. I'm
You
talking
said it
about
was a lot of rapes
no,
around that time.
no. I
The
said
ladies
raid,
got killed.
raid. Listen, raid. Our no, I'm not
Why you
talking
have
about
a
the
picture
ladies
of a
now.
lady on your profile pic?
That's
That's
my
kind of
girl,
weird. We
bro.
don't know. I don't even know who you are. We don't know who
I
you
don't
are.
I don't know
You
who
saying you
you
Did
are
work
he
cyber
say
either.
security?
raids or
I don't know who
rapes?
you are, man. I
He
said
said
raid.
rape.
I said
No, you said
raid,
rape.
bro.
Raid?
Bro,
That's
raid. R A
that's just as
R A
bad.
I D.
You raiding villages and shit. So they raided that lady's
And they raid so they
house and
can
shit. That
rape.
guy.
Bro, you don't
The rape
understand what I'm
follows the
saying. You're
raid.
not following, bro. I'm talking about a historical story right now. If you're not following,
Okay,
please try and listen,
It's
man.
currently
what
historical. Go ahead. I'm
time?
sorry.
What time?
If you're not following, just listen,
Hold
bro.
up. What time? What time frame did these raids happen?
Yeah, I'm talking about the era where slavery was actively going on, man. Olauda Equiano. Let me. Where can I write this, bro? Where can I write this, bro? Let me mention this guy and write it so he googles it and gets what I'm saying instead of trying to pick a fight with me.
Okay,
Olauda
so
Equiano,
if I, a black American
right?
who
Mm.
has found two enslaved great grandfathers, and I have a reparations claim against the United States of America, right?
You deserve it. You should get it.
And
100%, bro.
and
You
they
should get it.
say, "Oh,
Mm.
that was just those founding fathers. We're not doing
Mhm.
it." And they pivot and go, "We're fighting the same people." That's what the white people say to us. Oh, that's
No, no,
not
no. I'm not
us.
saying. I'm not saying
They
what
make
they're
a quick
saying.
pivot. Oh, I just immigrated here in the mid 1900s,
No,
so I don't have anything to do with it. So your
no, you don't get it.
government
Mm.
that was set up then, the government was those kings, and everybody agreed to do it. Those kings didn't chase anybody around.
No, that's not.
The
That's not. That's
people
not.
chased
That.
people
No,
around
the thing
and
is,
sold them.
no, no. The thing is, like slavery in itself, right? Look, I 100% support reparations, right? Okay, and I'm glad you're on the same page with me, right? Because I was talking about Olauda Piano and the 18th century, right? Thank you very much. So I 100% support reparations claims, okay? Because the trauma that has been passed down these generations, right? So my
So
viewpoint is really, really
so
huge
your
on this.
viewpoint
Let
is
me let me
Ghana should
speak,
pay
bro.
reparations to Black
Let,
Americans?
let me speak, bro. Let me
No, no,
speak.
no. I'm just asking. Should Ghana pay
Let me let me
reparations
let me
to
let me.
Black Americans?
Why should Ghana pay reparations to Black
Because
Americans, bro?
God sold human beings.
Bro,
There you
Ghana,
go.
Ghana didn't sell. There was no Ghana
Yeah.
at that
Oh,
point.
hold
Like
on. Hold on. We're not playing the
you,
old.
you,
Hold
you,
on. We're not going to play ghost countries.
Ghana was no country at that time.
Shh.
Ghana was a country in 1957.
Calm down. I got you covered.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ghana has requested reparations for things that happened
Mm.
during slavery.
I personally don't
Hello,
support our president's
Ghana.
claim. No, listen.
So
I know
now
what you're talking
you're
about.
playing peekaboo with the country. You're asking for
No,
things under your country name, and you're saying, "Oh, our
I'm not
country didn't
asking.
exist. You can't get
No,
nothing
no.
from us." Everybody's gone. All the tribes that did it are
let me
gone.
tell you
They're all invisible
Peekaboo.
let me
now.
tell you my point. Let me tell you my point. Let me tell you my point.
Mhm.
I like you on the spot. Okay, you make me you allow me to speak. Solon doesn't let me speak. So on the spot is my friend. Solon is not my friend. But listen,
Good cop,
right?
bad cop.
So the thing is,
Yeah,
so the thing
that's
is, right?
divisive. Be careful with that. Go ahead.
All right. So the thing is, right? I don't, me personally, I don't like our president, bro. If you look at my TL, I'm always dissing that asshole, right? Because I think he's really stupid, right? And I voted against him this time. Okay, so I'm not a fan of my president. One thing I really respect, and one reason why, thankfully, I did my masters in January. I might do my PhD this year, hopefully. I really like academia because it allows people to think, like people of you might agree with something, but you can hear it out, right? First and foremost, I disagree with our president for asking for reparations. I think he was just looking for another money grab, right? Why do I think that we don't deserve any reparations for slavery? Okay, the people it affected are the people who went to the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, right? I don't think the people here should get reparations for slavery. I honestly don't agree with that. And I think it's the most stupid thing. I found it so ridiculous. I saw it in the news and I was shy, right? Because my American friends would call me and they'd like talk about it, and I
Y'all
wouldn't know
still
what
gotta
to say.
break bread with the Black Americans though. Y'all sold slaves, so y'all's
Bro,
just as
I didn't.
complicit as the Europeans.
Nah, man. I think like that viewpoint is really flawed, bro. Because
And
anyone could have
if
break
you
up.
want to be super technical, it was like almost every tribe in Ghana
Let me tell you.
that
Let me
sold
tell you, man.
slaves, especially the Ashantis.
Everyone,
You want us to go to the Ashantis and get some of that gold, get all
everyone,
that resources?
everyone, everyone could have been could have been a slave. I could have been you right
Coulda,
now
woulda,
talking,
shoulda.
Oh,
right?
now you saying I could have been you. I could
No,
have been a slave.
No,
It
I'm
could
saying
have been
no.
me.
Let me tell you
It
because
could have
we
been
have the same.
we're
anybody.
not gonna do
No,
that,
because
Come
coulda.
I'm
on,
saying
Ain't
sir.
this.
gonna be
Listen,
me.
listen.
Come
The
on,
reason
sir.
I'm saying that.
May
The
I
reason
just
I'm saying that.
may I butt in and say that number one, yeah, it is a little bit. He played a little white man defensive game. Like I like you, Wani, but I don't like this other person.
I caught that.
We're very well
Yeah,
aware
no,
of those
I'm
little
white. I'm white.
tactics.
I'm white now. I
Also,
like
when
that.
you said that you were speaking about you wanted to see the perspective of the enslaved person, you wanted to get a because you didn't because you heard about it, but you really wanted it from a first person perspective. You never hit on that. You're just like spilling it out, but you're getting close to it, but you're being very like pivotable. Like you keep pivoting from one thing. Let me tell you something. Every time you say let me tell you something, you pivoting to something totally different. Like you
Mm.
never just stay on one thing and they trying to hold you down, hold your feet to the fire, then you wiggle out. And now you're saying, it could have been me. Ah, I
No,
could
bro.
have been a slave
Listen,
with you
listen. No, listen.
guys.
Just
But they
just
just
talk to me.
didn't pick
Listen.
It
me.
was
They
No,
just didn't pick
me.
me and unfortunately they picked y'all. But I
no.
don't think that
But
Ghana should
that's what it
be
is, bro.
held
That's
to
exactly
it.
what it is. That's
Hey, Wani,
exactly
didn't
what
you
it is.
bring up earlier that during the election cycle, I think the 2020, they
Mhm.
had Africans that were like radical Pan Africans that was going
Mm.
against Black Americans. I believe he's one of them.
Who?
They did have
Me,
He got to be the remnants.
bro.
Like they were working with the U.S. and the Russian government.
Bro, I don't even know what you're talking about, man.
See, yeah, they never know what we talking about. And then Wani, when you was
Yo,
trying to
you're
explain
just
to him at the
let
very
let me tell
beginning
let me tell you
about
something.
the women that
The
were
thing
being
the thing is,
harassed and were raped
I
and
murdered.
were
didn't know that,
killed,
and I'm
he
glad
needed
I've
to
been
have
Okay,
educated,
calm
proof.
man.
down a
He
second.
just needed to have 100% proof that that even had
It
happened.
happens a
At
lot.
first, he
I
wasn't even
didn't.
willing to accept or nothing. He was like, "Yeah, I think
I
what you're
never did.
saying could be happening, but
I
we just
never
can you put it
denied
on a
it, man.
jumbotron
If
for
you
the world
listen
to
to
see
me,
because
I
maybe they
didn't
don't
deny
know."
it.
You did deny it, but
Because I
that's
want
okay.
people to know it. I want people to know
I'm
things like
ready
this.
to
Honestly,
show you the proof.
I'm glad it's there right now because I want people to see
They
stuff
have
like this,
Bloods and Crips and
right?
Let me
Kumasi,
read this real quick.
and they kill each other.
This,
How y'all have Bloods and
That's not
Crips
true. That's
you
not
and
true. We
guys,
don't kill
yeah,
each
Kumasi,
other,
you
bro.
guys
We don't
and
do
y'all
that.
kill
talking.
each other? The
We're
Bloods and
not we're
Crips
not
over there kill each
What
other.
in the
That
world are you
shit's
That's not
guys
true,
stupid.
doing? You
bro.
don't need
I
more.
like I like I like
Calm
that.
down. You
They
don't
make
need
dope
more
music though,
gangs.
so and you should listen.
Calm down.
How do you?
Calm down,
We don't
ma'am.
How do
have
you
Bloods and
need more
Crips in
gangs?
Kumasi, bro.
Okay, hold on a moment. I want to.
Who told you that,
I
man?
want to read something. Stop talking,
Read.
Jay, please.
Don't tell her
Delegates,
what to do.
delegates to the conference in Accra
Hmm.
did not say how much a reparation fund would operate, but
Hmm.
Kanaka Kegoki, an assistant professor of history and Pan African studies, said it would be used to correct the problems that the continent is facing all the sectors of its economy. Compensation
Hmm.
based on moral and legal rights and dignity of the people. But they started
Hmm.
mentioning people that were taken to Europe.
Hmm.
Why are you talking about people that were taken to Europe?
Why am I not talking about the people who are taken to
Yeah,
Europe?
why is Ghana talking about compensating people that were enslaved in
Man,
Europe?
I'm not.
Why
I'm
do
not. I'm
they
not. I'm not.
always overlook us? This is getting glaringly.
I'm not Ghana, man. I'm me. I have my own
Hmm.
perspective. I
Well,
don't.
you still
I don't.
are talking about reparations. So
Exactly. I'm talking about your reparations. You should get your
we should
reparations.
get them from
Yeah,
the west
if there
coast
was
of
any,
Africa. We should get them with
why?
your why? Because you sold slaves.
Yeah,
It should be a
I was
joint, it
colonized.
should be a joint.
I should also get
Since
how's
the
it called, the
white boy
reparations
owns
from
all your
the
minerals,
UK.
you and him should pay us
Uh,
dividends for what you both did. Your country owes money.
do you know? Do you know? Listen, you're playing
How are
because there
you?
was no Ghana.
How, sir?
There was
We
no
just
Ghana. There
went.
was Ashanti. There were Ewes.
Shush. I already explained this to you. You're asking for reparations under Ghana, so that argument is dead. Don't
You
say it
guys are
again.
really
Don't say it
you can't
again.
argue. You're not meant to argue. You believe what you
No,
believe.
it's a fact. You're asking for reparations under Nigeria and Ghana and other countries under those names. So you own it. You're not going to play
My
ghost
president,
country.
not me.
You're not going to play ghost country with me. I've been doing this for 5 years. I know every trick in your
Keep
book.
doing it. I think yours should just
I know
like
every trick in
learn
the
to see
book.
things from other people's perspective.
You
I'm
don't
not
have a
Ghana, I'm me.
perspective.
But man, all the
What is
best
the
to y'all, man.
difference
Be
between
safe.
you and a European slave seller?
He fled.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's that was very interesting. It was an interesting argument
I
he
mean,
tried to
slave
craft.
buyer.
But like Solon said, the text says the free Africans as a group by no means objected to the slave trade. Enslavement did not offend their moral sense, as far as the records show. Though nobody wanted to be enslaved, only a few Africans protested against the slave trade. I spent some time in Ghana and in the Cape Coast where the slave castles are. I've said 100 times. I'll say it another time, 101. There are neighborhoods all around Cape Coast and Elmina Castle. Why didn't they jump up and try to break us out of the goddamn the slave castle? You want to know why? Because they were complicit.
Damn, they didn't even want us.
No,
Damn,
if us
this is
if we found out next week that there was a castle outside Detroit that was selling children, brothers would go up to that motherfucker with Dracos and bust some children out.
yeah. I'm sad learning all of this. Like, damn, I really they ain't want us, and now they be playing mind games with us. I really don't like when they be playing stupid. I don't like it. I just really don't like it. They be pivoting. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to see the. She had to put it on a jumbotron for him to even see the. Like, come on.
Yep, trying to get close. Got to be careful with
He
that.
he did come in with a very nice attitude. He came in on his knees where they belong and where I'm going to put them, and they're not going to get up. Okay? Ever.
I feel like he knew you was gonna put him on his knees, and so that's why he was being very, very good to you. And then he tried to be a bit divisive with everybody else. He know who it is.
Yeah, someone was very off. That's why I came on stage. I'm like, the fact with the profile pic, he got like a picture of like some chick up there saying he works cybersecurity and stuff like that, and he was in the United States. I think he's still in the United States. I think he's working for someone. So, and the
I
fact he
just
He
does,
was
he
I
tried
was
to
really listening to
minimize.
him.
He tried to minimize what you guys were talking about. What happened with those two women who were essayed and murdered? He tried to say that okay, they
Can you
lynched
turn
those
up
people.
your
He tried to make it
mic
seem.
more?
He tried to minimize what happened with those two women who were assaulted and unalived in Ghana. He tried to make it seem like that was something that barely happened and that they
Yeah,
always, yeah, that they lynch whoever does something like that. He says, "Oh, we don't like it when people do that," but I keep hearing story after story of people who go over there and try to buy land and get the runaround or they get harassed or they get scammed. So this isn't just a one-time issue. He knows that that's something that happens a lot, and he tried to make it look like it was just, oh no,
a
we
misnomer.
They
yeah, a
bulldozed, people
misnomer.
built houses and they bulldozed them. People had businesses and they put them in jail to take over the business. It's just a hot mess. And if we're going to these places expecting to be embraced as a lost sister, we're not a lost sister. We're over here. We know who we are. They don't know who they are. We're the one with the roots. We built a whole tree after half a millennia. Okay? How long have these tribes been here? What have they done in the years that they've been there? Nothing.
and then they also like to lie saying there's not like threats of violence or even violence in Ghana when just in 2023, like a lot of jihadists was about to cross the border. Actually, they had a 40-year old ethnic, actually 41-year-old ethnic conflict in northern Ghana. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. There's mass genocides currently in Ghana. So
When
just more
he's
lies.
when he said, I
He's back.
too, I could have been a slave. That
That's
took me out.
also massive BS. Ghana didn't exist then. Sir, don't do it.
Prof.
Okay,
Um,
continue.
I don't know how to reach you, Prof, but I'd like to honestly have a one-on-one discourse with you sometime, right?
How is that going to help?
Um, no, it's just me and Prof. I feel like this issue is so sensitive. Um,
Not to me.
there's so much.
My people
There's so
rose
much.
from the
There's
Not
ashes
to me.
like a
no, there's so
phoenix.
much like hate. We don't
It ain't
even let.
sensitive
It,
enough for me not to talk
There's
I'm
about it.
not
so much
sensitive.
hate. There's so much hate. There's so
Can
much
you
hate
stop for a minute?
they
Hold
involved,
on. Hold
right?
on.
then you should discuss it between your Ghanaian people.
Wait a minute.
That's what we should
Hold
do if
on.
there's so much
Hold
hate.
on.
And I
Get the
heard
hate
you
out
Why
your
do
put
you?
sorry,
on their
Ghani.
knees where
Sorry,
they
Whoa, whoa,
Wani.
whoa,
belong.
whoa. Hold
You
on,
put them on
Jay.
their. You keep them on their knees where
Hold
they belong.
on. I'm not finished. What's hateful? What is hateful?
Bro,
Knowing,
the disrespect. Like
knowing
you keep them on their knees where they
that's where you
belong. Like,
belong. That's where slave sellers belong. Why should you
I'm
stand
not a
up?
slave
Why should you
seller.
stand up?
I'm not a slave seller,
What's the
bro. You're
difference
kidding.
between you
You
and a
belong on your
European? Well,
knees.
I'm not going
If
down
this
unless
is
I
how you
want
see
to.
people, you're
I'm
a
not
terrible
going on my
person.
knees
You
unless
belong
I
on your
want to.
knees. You're already on your
No, I'm
knees because
not.
you're filled with
No, I'm
hate.
not.
You're filled with so much
No,
hate.
I'm not.
Trust me. You
Check it
see a
out.
He
Please,
called you a peasant,
please.
but he's in shithole
I,
Ghana
you
right now.
know,
so bro, you can't
He
you
can't help
don't have the
himself.
money I have, man. You don't have half the money
oh,
I
you
have,
don't know
bro.
what we
Trust
have.
I'm in the United States. You're in Ghana.
Lee, he went from
my
being
G, you have
good
Come on,
African
no idea,
to a
bro.
bad
Every
African. He
Bro,
time.
playing
you
good cop,
cannot
this
bad
rub
cop, and
shoulders
he
with
this
you
Hold
cannot
tether.
rub
on.
shoulders with
Wait
you
a minute.
cannot rub
Whoa, whoa,
shoulders
whoa,
with a
whoa,
lot
whoa,
of
whoa, whoa.
niggas in
I
Ghana.
need to
I'm
ask a
telling you, bro.
question.
You
I'm
fucking
telling
wrote
you.
it.
Okay.
You cannot,
Let
bro.
me
You cannot, bro. I shit on you, man.
stop flexing
You're very
nothing.
disrespectful.
Stop,
You're very
stop flexing nothing.
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna say this. You,
Prof, I'm gonna contact you there because it's gonna go one way. It's
Jay,
always gonna go against me, and I'm not one to back out,
Let me
bro.
Jay,
If you
ask you a
disrespect me,
question then.
I came really
After he done
respectfully.
backed out and came
I've
back.
been disrespected the whole time, bro.
No,
By this
you
He
program,
left
weren't. You
and
were
came
prof.
back.
disrespectful. You were
You're an academic,
disrespectful when you tried to lie and say Ghana
prof.
didn't
Prof, you're an
exist.
academician.
Then you tried to wiggle out of it in another way
I love academia so much. I hate being shut up. You intentionally mute me because you have the
because
power,
you won't
abuse
stop
of power,
talking.
and you say, because I've sold slaves. Sold slaves to who, bro? How? Do you know
Let
that
me ask you a question since you can't stop
the
talking.
tribe I'm from was
Oh
oppressed
my
by
God, I
Ashanti?
don't give a. Check it out.
I don't give a fuck about
I
you
don't
two. You
care.
We
think you?
know.
I
We
You?
don't
get it.
care. Listen, I'm asking you a question.
I'm
What's
telling
the
you.
difference
You think you have
between
money?
an
You think you have
African slave seller and a European slave buyer? What's the difference?
no difference. They're both horrible
Then why
people,
should we talk
Horrible
to
people.
any of you?
bro.
Why
I
should we?
came here looking
What
for
is the
discourse.
difference? Why are you talking? Why?
I'm not a slave seller. Are you a slave?
My great grandfathers were enslaved.
Bro, my great grandfather was not a slave seller. Duh. The Ashanti sold slaves forever, but I won't even see an
Your
Ashanti.
people in
I
Ghana,
won't even see an Ashanti and see it doesn't work like that. You don't
your
do that to
people
people.
sold slaves in the United States of America. Uh, is responsible for slavery occurring. That's what we're talking about. The same thing Native Americans are talking about, atrocities that happened to them under this country. Okay, it just so happens that other countries are involved in our claim. So you're not going to pivot and say Ghana didn't exist. That's when you get disrespectful. You think people are stupid. We've already dealt with all these stupid
Bro,
arguments.
you need to learn to be able to take people's opinions.
No,
You
Now
don't
you
just
need
like
to be able
no.
to
disrespect people
learn.
when they
He
have
just calling you
differences.
dumb in so
Ex-
many different
ex-
ways. He's just horrible.
no, we're not taking your opinion because you don't have one.
You're dumb too, bitch. You trust me. I couldn't give two.
Stick it up your
You were
You
ass.
dumb
dumb
do
bitch.
it. You
You were
dumb
dumb
do.
bitch.
You dumb
Hey,
do.
If
that's
You
why
were
I'm
he hit
being
dumb
that
bitch,
beat,
bro.
insulted,
boy.
I
Just
don't
don't
know
hit
I
what
the
to
You
got
were
a
say
stage.
dumb
to
I
bitch.
got a
Solon.
picture. I got a picture of a woman on my profile pic,
Where have you
and
been outside
I'm
of
a bit.
America? Where have you been outside of America, Solon? Where?
I've been
Tell
where
me.
you at.
He
Tell
get
me, bro.
mad,
Tell
y'all.
me.
Damn.
I've been in your shithole.
Trying to tell me you're in America, bro. Do you know
A
the
lot of
people?
people
People
have
there are
gone,
people here who
a
can
lot of people have traveled around here. So I don't know where you're getting
the
your
the the,
information.
the
He just think very
trust me,
less
man.
of us, and it's just telling in how he
You
speaks.
think less. You're saying on the niche where they
Slave
belong.
seller, of course we do.
Double standards, man. And your hate will consume you.
I
Trust
don't
me,
This
hate
the
man.
same
Your
you.
guy
hate
that
Your
will
said,
hate,
I'm
consume
your
not
you.
hate is
backing
gonna
down
consume you,
after
bro.
I'm
he
gonna
left and
use
then
my
Especially
came
African
back. Nobody's
proverbs,
kicking me out of
but
bro.
I
here.
got
Nobody.
Bloods and
All of
I
Crips
you.
in my
refuse to back
neighborhood.
down. And then
I
Whatever,
got
boom.
bro. They should shoot
I
you
got
so bad.
ethnic conflicts down the street from my house.
It's good in Chicago. There's ethnic conflicts there. It's
Why
not
eat
two black
zebra
people. They're
paws?
killing each other, man.
I like the
And
bushmeat.
You
that's
have
what we should be
pits of,
talking about.
no.
That's what
Chicago.
Oh
we should be.
no, the hell. Hold on. Oh no, the hell it isn't.
Y'all don't really care
You
about black people.
are
Chicago.
genocidal. We're not talking to you, an African, about anything getting killed. You are the biggest murderers
Bro,
in town.
y'all kill
No,
each other more.
no, no, no.
they
You're
Y'all kill
gonna
each
they
other
be
really
more
they
than
even
any
now.
slave
even
You're
let them
killers.
really
kill
gonna
their own
leave.
animals.
You are the most
You
genocidal
don't value
sons
your
of.
life. You're pieces of shit, bro.
You are the most
Pieces of shit.
genocidal idiots. Killing. You've killed more people than we even have.
if you look at the jumbotron, I put evidence, a picture of an African tribal leader selling Africans to European slavers. It should be in the jumbotron at this point. Um, what I will say is look at the evidence. The evidence shows that the Gold Coast, and I've seen this with my own eyes, evidence of it, African leadership in the Gold Coast, which is now part of the Gold Coast, is Ghana. They were complicit in selling us and selling Africans to European slave traders. There's a graph from Dr. Claude Anderson's book in the Jumbotron for you to check out as well. So, there's a lot of hurt to go around. It was a big mistake selling your own people to the European in the transatlantic slave trade. And I think let's be honest, it's unrealistic to think that hurt would go away after 400 years. It's still there, and you have people. reacting to that hurt.
Yeah, how's everybody doing? How's Nikki and Wani and Professor Allen? How's y'all New Year's Day?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Well, I'm gonna address this title though. Hey, are you Nigerian? Man, I know you really can't talk about Chicago. You got whole entire tribal genocides going on in your homeland, Nigeria,
He's
right now.
Ghanaian.
Between the Igbos,
He's Ghanaian.
Ghanaian, man, you got tribal warfare between the Khans and the Asante tribe over there in Ghana right now. You got the Muslim tribes over the Fulani tribe. They're wiping out the Asante tribe and the Fonte, the Khan tribe over there in Ghana right now as you speak. I don't see you talking about that.
And then he don't mention the Sakwa
Into
boys.
the millions. And you've killed millions. You've killed more people than we've ever produced. Millions
They
of
sure do.
people.
The
Tens of
and the
millions.
Fulani they wiping out the Asante, the Fonte, and the Akan tribe over there in Ghana by the hundreds though right now as you speak. And he ain't talked about that.
Yeah, they always try to talk about some unorganized crime when they have organized criminals all over the world putting their gangs in other people's countries. We've never done anything like that. We're not monitored by Interpol. Our passports aren't blocked. We have nothing on the level of these people criminally. And that includes Italians and all the Armenians and Russians that come over here. All
Sure
of these
do.
people are international criminals, all of them. And we never have been.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the world class atrocities that have never perpetuated. That's how bad they were. Happened to us under the leadership of these people, and the same people who perpetuated world class esoteric atrocities on us come into our spaces and tell us to watch our language when we're reacting to some shit that happened to us. I don't understand it.
I put some pictures of actual slaves in the Jumbotron.
It's as if they don't want us to like say it or acknowledge it, or it's like they don't want to acknowledge it. Like they quick to tell you, be quiet. We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
They've been given that cushion from the Pan-Africanists. Oh, don't worry about it. We know the big bad old white man did it, and you didn't know what was happening until we found out that Pan-Africanists lie. And they have an agenda, and it aligns perfectly with the white man's agenda. Make us feel stateless, tell us that we're Africans, yada, yada, yada. We don't have anything to do with America. Go ahead, CC Capone. Not only is there slave selling, just like the European, but the following ideologies regarding the slave selling aligns with the European. And they immediately come over here and want to marry the European. They want to push us out of the way and do deals with the European and get in our way. Everything they do is aligned with the European. It makes no sense. They are, in fact, European. And there's no
Can I ask
reason.
y'all a question? Since you said that, does that mean like with all this history and stuff like that? So do they just have a? Do they know that they have this symbiotic relationship with them with Europeans? They're aware of that.
They seem to complain about them very quietly, but then they run to European countries and they don't care which one it is. Go ahead, Fire Nagy.
You had a person to come up here and about them, but they want to know everything about you and put our business out there. And I wasn't very sure that Black Americans were picking up on it.
You're breaking up.
Yes, I was about to
Their
say.
communities, they use something called concealment, right? They try to conceal a lot of their history. That's why we there's this big immigration debate, and we're like, we don't know who these people are. Well, they conceal that from you a lot of times. And then what they often do is they like to look at Black Americans and say the bad things about you. However, if you ever notice that when you say the bad things about them, their energy changes completely. They're like surprised and shocked that you know so much about them, because they're this is subterfuge. This is an entire, manufactured consent, as Noam Chomsky discusses. There's an attempt to kind of win the hearts and minds of people by making you believe that, hey, these Africans are noble savages. They're people who are nice and they're kind hearted, but in reality they're not. And when you bring that up, they're like, uh oh, the jig is up. The same with the Hispanic community. If you look at like the rates of femicide and homicide in Spanish speaking countries, they would blow your mind. But they'll often say, "Hey, we're hardworking, we're family oriented." This is the narrative of immigration. But what kind of family oriented people send their children hundreds of miles away as unaccompanied minors? My dad wouldn't even let me cross the street as a kid living in Kansas City. And so, um, just pay attention to that. A lot of times, these immigrant communities, you're seeing this more with the Africans, and I think people are picking up on it. I'm glad you guys are. They'll just conceal things from you. They won't tell you things about their society. And by default, what has happened is the Pan African community, community in our community, and many of us don't know much. You don't see a lot of international news about Africans. Like they had another bust with 72 people in Ethiopia, fall off the side of a cliff. You don't hear about it at all in our news.
And
You don't.
brother, can I talk? Can I interject too? And also, they just had a whole bunch of African women as prostitutes that got caught in Thailand. Did you hear about that story?
Oh yeah, and here's what else they have. They have Nigeria specifically has violence in the Middle Belt between people who are herders and people who are farm owners, and their entire military is deployed in the middle of Nigeria to keep Nigeria from exploding and blowing up. And people in our community don't know that. Their entire military. So they're part of ECOWAS. This came to light when they tried to deploy troops to Niger to force Niger to keep French troops within their country because Niger had expelled the French troops, and the Nigerian army was threatening Niger, and they're like, "Hey, you can't move those troops out of the Nigerian Middle Belt. There's violence in Nigeria. It's all over." I mean, they're jacking, train cars full of people, destroying train tracks. They call them bandits. If there's a train car
The,
going through anywhere in Nigeria, they'll attack the
and
train car full of hundreds of people, and they'll kill them and
and
rob them.
and if far I'm gonna add to what you're saying. Also in Nigeria, they got this in the Zafar region, because I've been over to Nigeria. They got the Fulani pirates over there. They also got pirates over there in Nigeria. It's not only in Somalia. They got the Fulani bandits over there where they jack trains and cargo ships that arrive at the ports of Nigeria. That's actually true. And also, it's that they got the Boko Haram over in northern Nigeria, like the Zamfara region, the Kono region, between northern Nigeria, between border Niger. So Nigeria is basically a terrorist state. And then in the southeast part of Nigeria, you got the Biafra. How you heard about that? The Biafra,
Yeah,
the
the
indigenous
Igbo.
people of
Yeah,
Biafra.
the Igbo.
That's
Yeah,
also a terrorist group. That's also a terrorist group designated in UK, also in Canada, also in UK, and also in Nigeria. So the Biafras, they got political packs all over America. They got them all over the world, and they also got militia to carry out their agenda though too. That's what people understand, that they not a Pan Africanist group. They actually a separatist group of Igbos. That they also, you got the president of Nigeria like Tinubu. He's a Yoruba. He declared war against the Igbos.
and he's a CIA asset too.
Yeah, he sure is. And he declared war against the Igbos in Nigeria. Though, so it's a war going on between the Igbos and Yorubas right now in Nigeria. Then the Fulani, they wiping out all the Nigerian tribes. They're wiping out they wiping out the Igbo, the Yoruba. They wiping out the other small minority tribes. Also, they wiping out the Hausa tribe over there. But the Fulani, the Hausa tribe formed alliance with the Fulani tribe, so it won't be attacked though. But the Fulani and the Hausa tribe, they attacking the Igbo Yorubas. Then you got the Igbos, Yorubas wiping each other out in Nigeria. And also is that country, Nigeria, that whole country about to go into a civil war very, very soon. That whole country about to be in chaos, disarray very, very soon.
But they still project all their failures on us. And I was just gonna speak on that brother's point. Yeah, it's going bad over there because I follow a couple of these tethers, just to see what's going on their side of the world, so we can get some ammo back to talk, because they project so much of their failures on us when they come here.
just because they want that white approval, and it's a shame. And I wish Professor Allen, brother, I wish you would have let me protect my sister Wani when we had that tether and this musty words on here talking crazy, because I was gonna get at him while he eating zebra ball soup all day. But yeah, these people
I'm
out
used
here
to
just,
all the abuse.
yeah, they out here losing their minds, sister, disrespecting our black American women like that. I was about to get on them, so
And
when you see,
also,
go ahead, brother, go ahead.
and also in Nigeria, though, the former president was Buhari. He was the Fulani. When Buhari's in office, though, the Fulani declared war against the Igbo and Yoruba. Did you know when Buhari was president, more Igbos and Yorubas were killed in Nigerian history under his rule? That's the part they don't talk about. It was a whole bunch of Igbo
Oh
Yorubas
yeah,
getting
and did
killed
you hear? And
under
did you
under
hear?
Buhari's
Go
rule, and
go
he was
ahead.
Fulani.
Yeah, did you hear last month they tried to knock down, what's that dude? From Burkina Faso, the what's that?
Abraham Torre,
Yeah,
Abraham Torre. Yep,
Yeah, hey, they tried to knock him down just a couple weeks ago for kicking out the rest of the French troops. So, they trying to spread the division everywhere. But I like how they stand on code, which is something we doing here by delineating. And
yep.
yeah, we need to do
And
that
also,
automatically.
and also Nigeria, they the main ones that won Mali Burkina Faso. That's why that they talk about the Pan Africanists, so it's kind of fake though, because they would support Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Senegal for and Ivory Coast for kicking the French out though. But you can tell
They're not supporting them. Tell me about it.
No, they're not.
now
No, they're not. Nope.
Hell no, Nigeria ain't supported Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger,
Well,
and
yeah,
Nigeria
isn't it
Chad
like
tried
and
to
four countries
invade
that got
Senegal.
Niger,
together? Isn't it
and
like four of them that got together or something like that?
No, these are the countries that got together
Nigeria
though.
tried to invade Niger, and it put them under sanction. And then all four of the francophone or the French speaking African countries told Nigeria, if you invade Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, I believe Cote d'Ivoire, they threatened to invade Nigeria. This was like 4 months ago. This was
Yeah, I
I
heard
don't think it
about
made
that.
big
I heard
news,
about that.
but yeah, they told the Nigerian army, "Hey, look, if you invade Niger, we will invade you." And Nigeria backed down. They got punked. And so they don't tell you that. That's why I said the Africans use concealment. They lie a lot. They hope you don't know the things that that they know. And yeah, Nigeria was threatened with an invasion, and the Nigerian public, had an uproar because they knew that their troops were needed to be stationed in the Middle Belt, or the country would break apart.
Because you got to think about it. In Nigeria, because I've been in Nigeria, over two-fourths of the government is controlled by the Fulani tribe. Basically, the Fulani in northern Nigeria and Niger is basically the same people. Northern Nigeria and Niger is basically the same people. So if Nigeria was to try to invade Niger, all the other countries over there, like the Fulani and the Hausa tribe, they would start invading the southern part of Nigeria, which is ran by the Igbo and the Yoruba. So it would be a whole bloody conflict. That's why I didn't do that though. But these Africans and the Caribbeans act like we don't know what goes on in their homelands though. They act like we never
Thank you.
travel been to their homelands though. That's the crazy thing about it.
I'm glad we have
Did
boots
you
on
also
the
hear? Did
ground.
you also hear about that terrorist attack that happened out there in New Orleans though? About that
Yes,
Somali and East African person?
I don't know him. Tell us about it.
Well, I'm gonna find the picture of him though. Give me 1 second.
Somebody said they don't know his background yet. Yeah, tell me about his background, because he's been quite a puzzle. He speaks, without an accent, and it's, the cosplaying is annoying.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I got the picture. Give me 1 second to post it up.
I'm glad we have all this boots on the ground information.
Yes, indeed. It is definitely important. And I hate how they try to train to talk like us to blend in. Because who remember that fake pastor who was talking about we don't need reparations?
I just posted in the jumbotron. Do y'all see in the jumbotron?
Not yet. It'll pop up in a minute. It's delayed.
There it goes. That's the person. He's like East African, something like that. Somali East African though.
So, with respect to the gentleman's comments and aggression towards Wani, I wanted to use him as a teachable moment. because he came in there being all sweet and I love you, let's hold hands. And I saw him escalate, and I wanted the audience to see his original intent. I wanted to see what he was really about. I didn't anticipate him saying that, but next derogatory thing out of his mouth, I was going to bite his head off, but I think he ran away. But I want.
Now, you guys, I know the other lady that people confuse for me. She gets mad and says people didn't protect her on the stage. I'm not that one. I'm the other one that doesn't care.
Well, I'm
Don't worry.
well.
Don't worry.
If
I'll
you
kick
look at
him
my
down and mute him if he got.
if you look at my track record, I have a strong track record of protecting the ladies on my stage. But I just I made a judgment call because he came on so I love you and I'm so sweet and we're so need to hold hands, and I felt him escalating. I said, I want y'all to see how this motherfucker gonna flip. He can't argue with the track record. Gold Coast was complicit in the slave trade. Ghana, not Togo, Benin, Ghana, Nigeria are right next to each other. They're the same people. I know
Senegal, the Wolof Empire, Senegal too.
they're all the same people. I know plenty Nigerians that have family. They have family all over. They fly to Togo to see cousins, and it's all the same shit.
Now, those two
It-
pictures of slaves that I posted, one thing that is shocking and people don't talk about a lot of those were little children. A lot of them were children. One of the pictures is some Moors transporting some enslaved individuals, and the other one is uh I don't know where this one is, but I think it's a French ship. I have a few they're very rare pictures. You can get them off of Library of Congress if you're lucky. There are not many pictures of people that people being transported on ships for slavery. And one of them was a French ship, and the other, what happened? Am I calling someone?
Nah, that was somebody else.
And that was probably a mistake. Someone probably has an iPhone and accidentally touched the wrong button.
But go to the jumbotron. Did y'all see that event that happened out there? How they tried to cover up the flag, the ISIS flag he had
Yes,
on his
we did.
truck?
Yes, we
yeah, they
did.
sure did.
Bro,
Every
they tied it back up, acting like this shit was just a normal ass one off.
Then they said it wasn't a terrorist. The woman said it was a terrorist attack, and the FBI said no, it wasn't. Really? Okay.
Trisha, unmute yourself, Trisha. Say hello. Unmute yourself, Trisha. Say hello.
Hey Trisha, can you hear Nikki?
Okay, so let's kick her out. She's playing game.
Is that her with the phone and stuff?
Yeah, she's gone.
All right, good. I was about to remove you. Removed her already. Okay.
She has one follower.
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think today we've learned a lot. We've learned about fake friends, and the lesson that I hope we've all collectively did a little environmental learning on is the tactic of being appearing to be kind to get in close. Remember what William Shakespeare said: "Keep your enemies close, but keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer." That's kind of what we witnessed a minute ago. One moment the gentleman's talking about love, peace, understanding, and he slowly showed how he really felt. If you had love in your heart and really kindness, there's no way in hell you gonna flip out and call somebody a bitch and call us peasants. I mean, he said it. He said what he really thought, which confirmed my bias. My experience in Ghana um, was being and I was really blessed to be in these dignitaries' mansions. I probably will never get that chance again. But I've been in close in these mansions, and I saw a hierarchy of that almost looked. I'm not going to call it slavery, but it was a feudal system in a sense. There were different tiers of social status. What I'm saying is, in Ghana, in these mansions, I noticed that these people, the rulership class of these mansions in Osu and downtown Accra, had servants. They and that right then and there, before I was even on X, I realized, I said, "Oh my God, they look down at their own people." So how would they treat me, a black American, if I bought a house? They was all trying to get us to buy stuff over there, buy property. I was like, where would I fit in this hierarchy? And the answer is not very high. He told you what he thought. I heard peasant come out his mouth. He called somebody in here a peasant. How dare
Me,
you? Who?
a peasant bitch. I think I was called a
Wow.
peasant bitch.
How dare you? And he said what he meant. Yep.
He thought he was rich just because he came over here and got $100 worth of U.S. currency. He can go buy a goat in his village.
$100 and a pair of Jordans from Walmart.
Professor, what I find is odd is that
The Jordans are
Africans,
fake though.
what
That's
I
what we
find
know. He don't know we know that.
what
Okay,
what
hold
I
on.
find odd,
Can
He
Professor
you
did.
Allen.
See,
wait?
that's
Can you
all the
guys see him?
Nigerians.
Hold on, hold
Can
on.
you guys see
I
him?
think that's Solon talking. I can't. Who is that talk calling my name?
It's Fire Nagy. He's trying to
Oh,
say
yeah.
something.
Okay, so Fire Nagy, and then taxation. Go ahead, Fire Nagy.
Yeah. So what I find odd is, I follow kind of the same people you do, and John Mearsheimer, he's a noted, political science professor. He talks about international hierarchies, and what I find odd is that Africans are at the bottom of the international hierarchy. However, they try to act as if Black Americans are beneath them in this international hierarchy. And it's well known that Africans are at the bottom of all international hierarchies. So I do find that very odd, not what you said, but just how the Africans interact with us as if they're above us, knowing that like their nations and their people are not viewed highly worldwide at all. I mean, don't you find that odd? I mean, yourself, I mean, knowing that, nations are ranked and nations have political power and Africans have none.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I look at stuff. I used to look at stuff through an academic lens, but my academic lens is turning spiritual, and I look at um, the Creator and the universe, and I try to comprehend how they would feel about a group of people who would sell their own to try to impress another group of people. I think on some level you're looking at karma. These group of people, they turn on themselves, and it's a very complex story with a lot of moving parts. West Africa and East Africa are two different places. We're not going to get into that argument today, but yeah, how could you respect? They doom themselves. Their leadership class, like we were saying earlier, um, when we talked about look up the source I used. Where was it? The Free Africans. I may have put it in a jumbotron. I got so many books on. I forgot the source. Okay, yeah, the Dr. Claude Anderson. If you look at the timeline, tribal chiefs, comma. Look at the order of that. He said tribal chiefs before he said Arabs. That means something. Tribal chiefs sold their own people to the European and to the Arab. So you're talking about a world stage, Fire Nagy. This world stage, these leaders of the corrupt, cruel world stage were the Europeans and somewhat Arab. Do you think they don't have a record of that? These people sold their own people to us. That's laughing stock. You lose respect. They don't have respect for them. They have more respect for us, believe it or not, because we have a fighting spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the key. That's why everybody loves Black Americans, because we like I almost said Dr. Tariq Nasheed, which would have been appropriate. Like Tariq Nasheed said, um, the other day, yesterday, I think, Tariq said the Black Americans is one, if not the only group of people that's never bowed down. People don't respect submission. Hell no. If you stand on what's right, that's even if it kills you, that's where respect comes from. Everything in my life that I've stood on and said, fuck it, kill me, is what's given me, got my respect. That's what this is all about. Remember what Socrates said. Socrates says you need to learn how to die. Everybody misunderstands that. And I'm not quoting a white man. The descriptions I hear of Socrates is that of an Etruscan. He may have been mixed, but he had a pugnacious nose. Say, like Paul Mooney said, sound like a nigga to me. If y'all old enough to remember the joke about Bill Clinton, it's a really funny joke. He said, "Size 13 shoe plays basketball and loves Mickey D's. Sound like a nigga to me. Got plenty of money and like to fuck." No, not gonna say that. Paul Mooney funny as hell, but Socrates sound like a nigga to me. Um. Anyway, Socrates
I
says
don't
something
know. I looked him up and mm,
mixed, maybe. What do you think? Mixed mulatto.
I'm gonna look him up again, but he like little boys?
I mean, he wasn't a good guy. I'm just saying he wasn't a good guy. He just made her.
I don't need to claim him that hard.
He said something
I don't
very
need we
powerful.
don't need to claim anything that the Greco-Roman Empire did because all they did is run over to Egypt. So they have secondhand information anyway, and ideas and concepts.
Hello, message. Yeah, that's hard to argue with, Wani. But Socrates said your job in life is to learn how to die, and that's so true. It means pick something that's worth dying for and fight for it, even if it kills you. Life is short. How you want to be remembered? What's your leadership legacy? Legacy. Malcolm X is immortal. He'll never die. Muhammad Ali is immortal. He'll live forever. What's that motherfucker's name who Herman Cain? Herman Cain was rich. Do y'all know who I'm talking? Does anybody here know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
Hmm.
know he.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought most of you wouldn't because of what he chose to live for. Yeah.
999 that was playing.
No, no, no. I didn't get the connotation.
Oh, that was his presidential plan when he was running for president.
Oh God. See, I don't remember. It's not memorable.
No, he just looks like a pudgy white boy.
Okay. But yeah, he was Socrates was a degenerate. I'm not praising Socrates. I'm just saying
But Babe Ruth.
sound like a nigga to me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
there's some people on stage who haven't had a chance to speak. I know Stacy was has been here, and then No Taxation joined
I
a
don't
little
even
after that.
see.
Did
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see any hands. Go ahead. You sure have, Miss Stacy. Miss
no,
Stacy.
I didn't see the hands. I've just been kind of quietly keeping track of it. And anyone who I missed, please raise your hand. I apologize. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Can
Miss
let me know if you can
Stacy.
hear
I
me.
can hear you,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
Stacy.
can hear
I
you.
can.
Okay. So I've been having. I didn't put my hand up because I wasn't sure. I'm actually talking. I turned on my computer, so my phone. I don't know why it kept kicking me out. I couldn't hear a sound. It's like I would hear you say something, and I'm sitting here waiting for the juicy part, and it would cut off on me, and I'm like, okay, somebody hates me. But sorry, I got on the computer. I just been listening on the computer. But I was just gonna say, like Wani, one of the when you had posted those pictures in the jumbotron, and you actually said it, the same thing I was thinking. I was like, wow, it's a lot of kids. These people are so evil. And I did hear that guy that was in here talking about the whole Ghana thing. First of all, I don't trust any of them to say that they're for reparations. I don't. I just don't. I think they're trying to find if they do. For, I mean, like reparations for us. I'm like, okay, there's some angle you're trying to finesse in there. You think you're gonna get some money somehow. You're looking for how you can be a part of it or get something out of it. And I know I heard a lot of hypocrisy, the whole thing where he was trying to, the whole back and forth with the, being Ghanaian. And then the disrespect. I was like, I know he did not just call my sister no bitch. Oh, hell no. So, And then one of the things I was going to say too is how you talked about the neighborhoods and how they just let it happen. I feel like a lot of these Africans, the ones that did sell us or let it happen, I think they didn't step up because it was as long as it wasn't them. They're like, hey, as long as it ain't me. But now that we've come so far and we've elevated and we've done so much and contributed so much, and so many people, whether they want to admit it or not, look up to us, including them. um, Now that the table is turned, they want what we have, and they're gonna do anything to get it. The same way they did anything to get them little trinkets just to get rid of us, or just the fact that, well, as long as it ain't me, well, guess what? It still ain't you, because guess what? Stay where you are, go back to where you came from, and stay out of our business, period. And stop coming in our spaces. It's like just little spies just coming in here saying, okay, well, what are they doing now? Let me see if I can figure out a way to finesse that. Because just like you said, he came in being all nice, and you know that wasn't going to last long.
Yeah,
So,
I was
I mean,
I had a hunch, call it the hairs on the back of my oh, I just got that, Nikki. Oh yeah, we gonna talk because I might need some advice, y'all. But I was talking to Nick. I'm sorry, yeah. But yeah, I was like thinking. I got a feeling that if Wani stays on his ass, I think it was Solon that was on him. Maybe a couple, somebody else was on him, and he started treading different way. I was like, I bet you they're gonna show reveal his true colors. So I just shut up and I was waiting, and it's right. I was correct. He showed his true colors.
yeah, keep talking enough, his ass start cracking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Stacy. No taxation. What's on your mind?
Mm. Y'all don't want to know because y'all know it's two people groups I don't have nothing to do with. I told y'all that a long time ago. Didn't I say it, Nikki? Nikki, am I
Yes,
lying?
I know
I
you're
been
not
said
lying.
it. I don't, and let me tell you, I love y'all. Y'all know I love y'all. But baby, if I disappear, it's because y'all over here talking to them Africans. When them Africans come on, I just turn the volume down. And then I can look to see who, if the Africans stop talking, because it tell me, on your phone. And so that's what I do. But baby, y'all better than me. But let me say this about Wani. Y'all keep worrying about Wani if you want to here. Wani took that nigga on a journey. That's what she did. Now, see, you can't take me down them roads. She, no, no, you can't take me. See, Wani's good at that, and that's what she did. If y'all thought Wani was uh, uh, innocent, you are highly mistaken. It was a setup, baby. Do you hear me? She knew from the start. Listen, ain't no way an anthropologist who has traveled every single land mass on the earth is not going to take no simple-minded Nigerian down no journey for a hot minute to let y'all see what it is, okay? Remember what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with the highest of the heights over here. And that's why they keep coming over here. I keep telling y'all, they are moths to a flame. We the flame. That's what it is. And that's just everybody. But I'm gonna tell you something else about them Nigerians. They call them the roaches of the world. Go to Europe and see what them Europeans talk about it. You see what happened down to the Ukraine when they tried to get out, uh, and all them other different places when it started popping off. You see, listen, if they'll Haitians look like those Africans. That's why Haiti looks the way it does, and that's why they got on them horses and was putting ropes on them like they were cattle right down there at our border. We know what it is. They not finna let them dark-skinned imbeciles come up here in this country when they trying to get rid of melanin already. Let's be real clear what it is. But anyway, Nigerians are the roasters of the world. They're the worst. Like, ooh, baby. Now, see, if you had to pick the Somalian or something, I might have sat and listened for a minute because I don't know nothing about them either. But a Nigerian, baby, no. I can't do it. I cannot. I really cannot. So I just came to tell you that. But that's not what I came to tell you, Professor. Check your DM. I am trying to order a book, but I want you to autograph it
Okay.
too. But let me know if I did
Okay.
it right, because I don't know if I did it right and stuff. And Nikki, thank you. And I came to say thank you to Nikki publicly. Let me tell you what she did for me, y'all. I am very tech challenged. I don't even want to know anything about technology. It's a necessary evil as far as I'm concerned. Okay? And I was trying to figure out how to get my notifications. Nikki, let me tell you what happened. I flipped that switch. I did everything the thing told me to do. I flipped it over there. All of a sudden, my phone started talking, going off and all. I said, oh, no, I can't do that. I don't know how to really do it, but I know that you did it. I know that you did that. And I so appreciate you for hooking me up like that, because I do want to keep up. Now, not with no damn Nigerians, but the rest of it, when we start talking about the black stuff again, I'll be back. But yeah, I hope y'all learned this lesson too, because if they have to keep repeating this, that means you failed the class. You in class.
There it
You
is.
here to
No,
learn,
no,
okay?
no taxation. Quickly, I looked at my DM. I didn't see anything from you.
Oh Lord in heaven today. Check,
Yeah,
if
if
you could
it's real
just
simple.
check your Cash App thing, because I put it on there. It just say I got it.
Oh,
Is
Cash
it a
App.
no?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
It,
Okay,
The
hold on.
I
I'll
want
check.
lady,
the
I was just
cause
gonna say the lady Trisha that had the one feedback. She said she doesn't know how to work her phone.
who? Trisha's talking about me?
No,
Oh, well, I would have told Trisha if she was talking about me, you halfway right, girl, because I just learned the bare
no,
necessity.
this lady that came in that we told to get out.
Oh,
Did we kick her out or did she leave?
Um,
I see that Jay got up out of here.
Hey, no taxation. Do me a favor. What's the first letter? Just the first letter of your first name.
The first letter of what now?
Of your first name.
J.
Just first letter.
J.
Okay, hold on.
Let me see. I got to look over here. I didn't do my
I
foster
I
daughter
put her
set
in the
the thing
audience,
up.
but she's not
I got
kicked
it.
out.
I got it.
Oh, okay. And I want you to sign my book, please, and thank you very
Got
much.
it.
Okay, y'all, please don't repeat this class. If you feel like you ain't going, if you feel like you're gonna get a C or below, drop it and come back. Okay. Thanks, Professor Wadi and Nikki. I appreciate
Thank you,
y'all.
babe. Thank you for coming on stage.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all want to order my book, I talk about this type of stuff. Go ahead and go to my Cash App and put $25 on it. I have like 100. They're actually going really fast. I might have to order some more. 100. What I say? Put $25 on my Cash App and put your full mailing address. I'm sending books out tomorrow. I talk about all this type of stuff. It's the years I cover in my workbook, and it is a workbook. It's not just a textbook. It's a workbook for you to work problems with the family, to kind of understand what systematic racism is and the effects psychologically it's had on us. But I go from 1492. I start with Columbus's diary, and we go to 1776. So from the moment Columbus got to the Bahamas to the moment America became a country. So we dive into the real story. Um, Anybody else want to come up? I've really enjoyed this. These spaces have been just such a blessing.
Mr.
This
X
I
is up.
Oh, Mr. X, let me say something right quick and then I'll let you go. I want to tell y'all something. As Wani and Nikki will attest, last night when New Year's happened, I had a premonition of just like, wait a minute. Okay, cool. Because well, I'm gonna tell y'all later what this interest. But I had a premonition that this is gonna be a good year. It just came over me. I had a god awful 2024. Oh my god, it was god awful. It may have been the worst year of my life, but I just felt like this is gonna be different. And this is the first real space of 2025. We had one that was going on and turned into 2025, but this is the first real space we've had of 2025. What did I tell you? 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 is the number of completion in the age of Aquarius. A complete, an ending in the age of Aquarius. It's time for the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is about truth. And I'd be goddamned if this space today wasn't about truth. He was trying to hide his intentions, trying to hide behind nice. And that 9 got to his ass. You peasant bitch. Yeah, you're damn right. Look at those words, peasant bitch. What does that imply? He might as well said you slave bitch, because that's what he was thinking. And that's what I wanted y'all to know. X, tell us what's on your mind, man.
Man, I just wanted to touch up a little bit about what you said about like the spirit, um, and how a spirit transcends all. You know, like every time you hear, uh, every time when once you learn about Malcolm X, his spirit, it's like it infuses with your spirit. The same thing when you learn about any of the sacrifices that your ancestors made. Like, you know, like just like all of these people who strap bombs to themselves without regard, like, for themselves at all, but they're doing it for a greater purpose. You know, this the spirit of whatever is fueling them is greater than them in the moment. You know, like, is is very interesting. Like, and that's what's so powerful about having a code. Like, if you can have um a spirit or something that's non-physical that guides the people, then no matter how many times somebody, uh like, for example, all of our movements, all of our leaders were knocked off. um but if you have something that is not relying upon a person, but it's ideology that's infused into everybody, then no matter what they do, we'll just keep rebuilding, kind of like an ant, right? So that's why I feel like the what you touched on kind of speaks on the code that, you know, Tariq talks about a lot. Um, so, like, even if something happens to him, or, you know, they kind of, whatever happens to us, like what we're building right here will keep moving forward, you know. So I feel like that is, you know, very powerful what you said. So I just wanted to touch on that.
I appreciate you, brother. Wellsing, good to see you. Speak up. What's on your mind?
Hello, Wellsing.
It's
Welcome
good
to
to
the
see
Yes,
you, love.
stage.
yes, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I want to first say, um, what a prolific room this has been. I don't know when it began, exactly, but
I
I
think
caught
August.
on to it in August. Okay, so I think I was
Hmm.
around that time, so I didn't miss much. All three of you contribute such greatness in this room. I cannot say that when I leave this room, I've not learned anything. When I leave this room, I'm smarter than what I was when I started listening to the room that evening. Um, and I am so compelled, Professor. Uh, you don't know this, and I may have to talk to you offline about it, but I may want to buy a group of those books, and I will tell you why afterwards. In fact, all three of you, I will share that with you on a call, perhaps, maybe. That book, folks, yesterday, late last night, or in the wee hours of the morning, I was reading through some of it, and it brought me to tears. And it was like divine order because my whole family is out here visiting me. I have a niece and nephew that are fraternal twins. They are in the seventh grade, and it was like divine order. That morning, I don't know how the subject came up, but they told me that they've actually gone to their teachers to complain about the lack of Black history
Wow.
in their school, and that my nephew, who has a big mouth like me, um, told the teacher that it's more than just Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. I was
Wow.
floored. I was floored. I was floored. I was floored. So, hence the order of that additional book, Professor. Having said that, um, Every time I come into this room, I'm learning something prolific. And as most of you, maybe not all of you, know, that I am an ally. I was born in New York City. My father is Cuban. My mother is Jamaican. Uh, between them and my grandmother, they came here between the 1940s and 1950s. And I thank God for my mother and father because I never knew how fortunate I was until that fateful day in Clubhouse almost 5 years ago when I happened to stumble upon a room, my very first room, with the title "They Were Her Property." How appropriate, because I read the book several months before and I couldn't find anybody to share how floored I was.
Yeah, that was like
And when I
four
went into
years
that
ago,
room,
right? Yeah,
yeah, yep,
we were both
said
there.
was the said was the moderator. I think Wani might have been co-moderator. She was up there, I remember, because she had a very distinct voice. I remember that. And I found my tribe. I found people that I could, you know, I remember it was Coach, chapter 5 and chapter 3 of that book. I couldn't talk to anybody about it. And I found that room. Um, I'll take the opportunity to say one thing as a sidebar note. As an ally, when I say we, when I say us, when I say all, that is real for me. That is not a dog whistle to say, oh, I'm a Black American or, oh, I'm old reparations. No, that means that I am right alongside you all, step by step, in whatever I can do to help fight for reparations and for the fight. It's a moral issue for me. It's a spiritual issue for me. It's an ethical issue for me. My family, the things that I hear from people from other countries when they speak pejoratively about Black American history, Black Americans in general, it bothers me to my core. Like it bothers me. It just bothers me. Sometimes I lay in my bed, I cannot believe it because I didn't come from that ilk. I didn't. And I just want to have the opportunity to say that when I say us, I mean it. When I say all, I mean it. When I say we, I mean it. I don't think you could find somebody more of an ally than I am today. There were many in the past, but today. So having said that, I want to get back to thanking. Um, there's a number of people in this room that I want to thank. No taxation, so smart. Arthur, everybody, everybody in this room. Because whether it's been a good experience with me or a bad experience with me, it's an experience. And you have to take the good with the bad. And then there's also forgiveness. There are some people in here that I forgive because I understand more than you think I do. So I want to say to Wani and to Nikki and to Professor, keep on keeping on. These rooms are unbelievably edifying. Unbelievably edifying. You should see my notes. You should see my notes. I have a notebook, pages, and I'm trying to figure out how to, categorize it. I'm going to have to figure that out. Maybe I have to rewrite it or something. I have my secretary type it up for me and just rewrite it for me and categorize it. But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for every time if I don't come in here, I'm depressed. So thank you so much once again. And I want to wish everybody good health. Good health is very important. I just had a friend who I visited. I looked at my calendar November 2nd. November 15th, she called me and said she was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Jeez.
December 22nd, she passed away. Just like that. Life is too short.
Way too
So,
short.
way too short. And for Professor, I wish you to move back to Memphis. Life is too short. You know what I
Yeah, for
mean? Get out of
Atlanta.
Memphis.
Yeah.
Get out of Atlanta. Get out of Atlanta. And
She can
Well,
see it. She
Atlanta's
can
everybody.
see it.
No,
She
we
can
trying
see
to
it.
get. I'm trying
Atlanta,
to get him to DC.
At-
No, he,
At-
trying to get him
Atla-
to DC.
Atlanta's just now starting to get good to me. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I just wish my niece and nephew could study under you,
oh,
and all of you. I
they
wish
they
all of you.
will they will. I'm gonna have to. I'm seeing what my calling is and what I got to do. And
Yeah, it's
I'm
teaching
seeing.
all three of
Mhm.
you, all three of you. So, um, uh, you know, I used to be in the clubhouse rooms, and I would sneak in. This is a joke on Wani. I would sneak in on rooms where she would be holding a room with 400 Africans, slaying them like Xena the warrior princess. And I used to in that room. I'd be like, Lord, I said, Jesus Christ, and then she would just slay them, and then she'd be like, next,
just,
Yeah, isn't it funny how
just like
sweet
that.
she acts?
next. So that's the grace. I guess that is what Tariq's calls the Majara spirit. That you can fight the fight with grace and keep it moving on. And so, with that said, I want to thank everybody for allowing me to speak in the room. Thank you for embracing me as an ally. Thanking you all for allowing me to speak when I can and allowing me to make mistakes when I am a human being and clarifying it and educating me and that's what it's all about. So thank you guys so much, and I land with that.
Hey,
Thank you.
hey, we love you, Welson. We love you.
I
Yeah,
love
we
you guys.
love
I
you and thank you for.
respect you. I respect all of you. Your scholarship. This is not something that you all of you have put in. You've dedicated your lives to it. You can hear it. There's layers there. It
Yeah.
is just so deep. So I mean, just the things that you say. It's some of the things. It shakes me. So I thank you so much for that, and I mean it. I really do mean it. Thank you.
Well, we thank you for your transparency and everything that you contributed to this movement. You are definitely someone who is valuable, and we appreciate you. And you have never lied. You have always been upfront from all of the years that I've known you. You've always been upfront about who you were. I've never seen known for you to try to pretend to be anything else. You have been nothing but an ally to us, and we have no reason to not trust you. We do love you, and you are welcome
Well,
here.
it's called respect. There's no way in the world I could lie about my lineage. It's called respect. Now, there are people that may not feel comfortable with it initially, and I get that. But when you walk in your truth over a period of time, things have a way to subside. And even if people still don't like me or trust me, at least what they can, at the very minimum, do is respect me. And that's all you can ask for. I mean, you can't be everything for everybody. But it is what it is. That's life. Not everything's going to go your way. I'm a human being, and I won't say that it won't hurt. It doesn't hurt, but you have to move on. So thank you so much for that, Nikki. Thank you guys. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Wani. Thank you guys.
You're welcome, Welson. You're always welcome here, and we got your back. Don't you're not alone. We got your back. The black, and we're gonna give. Matter of fact, let's go to Epion, right? Because he hadn't spoke, and we'll go back to the black.
I was
Okay.
gonna say you can go with Buddy down there.
Yeah, how you guys doing? Yeah, I'm from the UK, so I hope that doesn't
Oh
bother
Lord.
anybody in space. But no,
Why
just
would that bother
it,
us?
no, well, I hope it doesn't. But I just want to say this, in regards to what you guys are doing, like I find it commendable, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys are rallying around your cultural identity. Like, I think, well, I know that foundational Black Americans, they're the spearheads of Black liberation. So I just want to put that out there in the forefront. In regards to like, I mean, there's been instances where you guys have articulated that that you have been attacked, and I've seen that. But I think some of the arguments that you say is not been articulated well. Like some of these guys, they say, well, FBAs, you're this, you're that. But if you look at just statistically, the most populous state in America, which is Atlanta, if I'm correct, I mean, the GDP of Atlanta supersedes every African country. So if you just look at it in that retrospect, one state that supersedes GDP wise every single African country. And collectively, I think the black population there is a majority black state. Um, it's minuscule compared to those individual African states. So I just want to put that out there. Just that argument alone should just keep a lot of criticism quiet, you know. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it, I mean, I did hear a caller say, you know, in regards to Nigeria, that is my ethnic background. I was born in the UK, but my parents are Nigerian Igbo. The Igbos are persecuted in Nigeria, so that was the reason why a lot of Igbos.
You're playing, my friend. I got a issue I need to address. Go ahead, and land your plane quickly.
Yeah. So you know, just on that aspect, I just think obviously you guys will be getting attacked because the fact that you've got to the point where you could see it for what it is. Initially, there was a lot of black people that would slide into that category of being black American, but now that you're distinguishing yourself as foundational black American, which that's another aspect. Some people don't seem to get
We're
that.
still Black American and they need to slide out and stay
Yeah,
out.
well, but some people don't even understand that
Well, we'll
concept.
help
Like
them
even
understand.
okay, but another example, like from the
Thank
inception.
you very much, brother. We'll be on tomorrow. Come catch us, and we'll bring you back up. Go ahead, the black. Go ahead and make your submission, brother.
Oh Lord.
And no taxation will have last words.
Woo! That was entertaining.
Not as
I,
much as it could have been tomorrow.
I said I was gonna be good this year, so I ain't come up earlier with the African. I just took me a little quick little nap because Lord, I don't know how y'all deal with that on a constant basis. Like I would have been done blew my fuse. But anyway, I hope everybody having a blessed day. Happy New Year's to everybody in the room. Uh, I just finished rewatching the Marion Anderson PBS little special for the fourth time, and we have some wonderful, great people. I recommend that to everybody to watch that and any other PBS special that they make of our people. Even though they be trying to put they little Pan Africanism up in there. Know what I'm saying? It's some good bits and pieces that you can take out of these specials. Know what I'm saying? Because they can't tell the American story without the American Negro. That's just point blank. Like that's it's impossible. And uh it's to the point where back in the day, how my granny used to explain it, struggle and pain make diamonds, and we are people that are pure diamonds. And when they made the hood, the projects, they they made a field of diamonds. They made diamond mines, and it's too many diamonds out here to stop the shine. So 2025 will be the shining time for everybody. I say live in your truth. Don't be afraid to do what you think you want to do because it's possible. I want everybody to know that because we are strong, resilient people, and we can do anything and everything. We have examples, and I want everybody to keep that in mind. I hope everybody have a blessed day, and I land there.
Man, love the submission, brother. No taxation. Go ahead and wrap it up because we're about to close the space. Take us home. No taxation. Can you hear me? No taxation, or does my thing act up? Oh, she disappeared. No taxation. You can come back up. Hold on 1 second. Oh, doggone it! I hit the wrong button. Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Professor, can I just say one thing I forgot to add
Yeah, go ahead. And Black,
to
do me a
that?
favor. while Wells's speaking to Black, go ahead and drop down so I can let no taxation up.
Okay. Can you sign my book too? You know what I'm saying? I'm a fan too.
Got you. I'm sending them out tomorrow. Go ahead, Wellsing.
One thing I forgot to add, and I'm not sure because I was in and out of the room. Did you mention? Because you mention him all the time, but today is John Henry Clark's birthday.
No shit. Okay,
Yes,
so today, so we'll talk about
yes.
Clark.
Okay, yeah, I know you. That's your
Thank you,
favorite.
because
So
we'll talk about
yeah.
him in the space tonight.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
No taxation. Last words. It's doing the spinny thing, the connecting spin. It's doing the connecting. If it keeps doing that, we might just close and pick back up with her tomorrow. It's still doing the same thing. So, guys, I enjoyed y'all. I learned a lot. We will be looking at this replay. Tomorrow, we'll pick up with a whole nother space. Again, if you want a copy of my book, go to Our Story Publications. What a space today. A space for 2025, the year in the age of Aquarius. A space where the truth came out. The truth can't hide anymore. Isn't that wonderful? Welcome to the age of Aquarius, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to seeing y'all this evening. And any last words, Wani,
Good night.
Nikki? It keeps kicking people off. Any last words, Nikki? Can you hear me, Nikki? The space is active.
Oh boy. Well, we'll let you do your appointment.
All right, guys.
Well, we'll let
Oh Lord, y'all so funny. What are you talking? I'm gonna call y'all for a break. All right, this is an interesting. I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.